This morning, July 17th, 2021, a date which will live in infamy. My morning's peace and quiet was suddenly and deliberately attacked by the cast and crew of Steven Spielberg's production company. The attack earlier today has caused severe damage to my ability to just chill on a drizzly Saturday, and I regret to inform you that many brain cells have been lost. As Commander-in-Chief of this podcast, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense, and I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack this morning, a state of war has existed between Citizen Kane versus and Mr. Steven Spielberg. We watched Saving Private Ryan in 1941.
Ah, the French champagne.
Can you tell me which members of the Reservoir Dogs you two are currently dressed as?
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Classic Spielberg.
Classic Spielberg.
He needs to kill 94 different 65-year-old men over 2.5 years because those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Shake it! Shake it!
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is...
Nice.
We sure did. Nice.
Wait,
Nice.
so, okay. So
Is there supposed to be a pause there?
I don't know.
Sorry. I know less than I thought about your podcast format. Maybe.
No. It's
So I have two questions about that intro. One, are we now officially at war with Steven Spielberg?
a state of war has existed, yes.
Gotcha. And you're the commander-in-chief of this podcast?
Yeah, that's kind of bullshit.
When did that happen?
I just took unilateral decision. I didn't leave it up for a democratic vote. This is a time of crisis.
I remember that we have Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I remember being Captain Jack, so I find this but I guess you're commander now. That's fine.
Does that
He got
put me at the
promoted.
bottom of the totem pole now?
Well, Andrew's here.
Right. So he's like an ensign?
I'm like a mercenary. I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
I'm like
A hired guy?
He's like a guest on OnlyFans.
That's another word term for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercenary.
Hello. Also, hi everyone. Welcome to Citizen Kane versus. This is a podcast, kind of bridging its way into an OnlyFans kind of style production, and where we take currently though we take some movies, one of which being more of a classic, the other one being more of a piece of schlock, and we ask ourselves honestly which one is better. My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined as usual by my two friends, one
Sean Jacklin.
and the other.
Lieutenant Daniel Benoit.
Okay, wow. And joining us today is special guest, Mr. Andrew Cameron. What's up, Andrew?
Hi, internet.
He's slowly undoing his shirt.
Well, and then I did
Doing it back up.
I realized how fat I am, and I was like, this is embarrassing.
I wanted to say hi back as the internet. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
That is what the internet would sound like. I think.
It's good to see you again. Andrew's been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Dan?
No, I was going to give a little intro of Andrew for myself, but
do it.
No,
you're
who is
in the middle
Andrew
of it.
to you?
Yeah. Tell us who Andrew is.
You all have to
and-
introduce me, and remember, compliment, question.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Andrew is my former roommate. He looks great in a pair of glasses. He is he's a very talented actor, and what's your favorite color, Andrew?
I'm not. It's okay. You don't have to. We don't have to do that.
No,
Bows out after the first question.
That was weak, man. Commit.
Well, if it was a better question, I might have.
Okay, so what are your views on the situation in Israel right now?
Yeah.
he's like blue.
No, he
I
froze.
think he froze.
Yeah, very convenient for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I know.
Ooh.
What a happy coincidence that was. Oh, he's actually gone.
Yeah.
All right, let's just move on with the podcast. I'll come back.
Yeah.
So anyway, and Andrew picked these movies, or like kind of was a part of picking them, and we have our matchup of Spielbergian war flicks. And this was an interesting, a very interesting pairing.
What does interesting mean to you, Jack?
And remember, compliment, question.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And he'll disappear.
It means yeah. Our guest is gone. A compliment question. It means Saving Private Ryan is quite good. Saving Private Ryan is like quite very good. And how the fuck did 1941 get made would be probably my compliment question.
Yeah.
And fuck it, like I had my doubts about this pairing. I think I was completely right.
Yeah.
And but I look forward to discussing these two movies very much. Yeah.
Right, because your doubts were that Saving Private Ryan might be too strong of a classic to put
Saving
up against
Private
anything.
Ryan is like
alone.
a really good movie.
It's a really good movie. There are faults.
Indeed,
yeah.
there are. But are they? But are they strong enough to be overcome by or defeated by
a movie that is
1941?
faults.
A movie that is simply just one large fault.
Which can only be really called a movie inside of air quotes, I think.
Yeah, like very, very loosely so. Well, we'll see if Andrew did disconnect.
He said his computer froze.
Oh, his computer froze. Well, just let him know to rejoin quietly. So let's get Dan. Why don't you do some intro-renos until Andy gets back?
Sure. In the red corner, representing the classic, an English teacher turned army captain who leads a small band of soldiers on a rescue mission when the head of the United States military decides one soldier's life is worth risking 8 others so his mom doesn't get too sad. Coming in at 168 minutes, starring Tom Hanks and basically everyone else in Hollywood, Saving Private Ryan.
Vin Diesel, yeah.
And in the blue corner, representing the schlock, a group of racist, rapey, underqualified, and over-patriotic Californians who must prepare for a Japanese invasion on Hollywood less than a week after Pearl Harbor. Coming in at 140 minutes, starring Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, 1941.
The booties.
Vin Diesel. Same chant. All right, Andrew's back.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, you missed my sweet intros.
That's okay. He saw the movies.
Yeah, he was there.
Probably. Like, we don't know yet, actually. Hey.
Sorry, everybody. That was some technical difficulties.
That's okay.
I feel like this happened last time you were on the show, too.
I know. Wait, hold on. I have to turn my little monitor on here.
But all you missed, Andrew, is that we just Dan just did his intros for the movies. So now anyone who hasn't seen them now has a perfect understanding of what these movies are. So they're able to listen to this podcast nonetheless.
Okay. Oh, that's the wrong mic. Okay, now we're good. We're good.
There we go. There's his dulcet tone.
There you go. Yeah, just fill it with noise.
Yeah. So that Daniel can just isolate that.
So it's more, later. And so also all my audio from before did not save. So,
ooh.
Well, you can use the Zoom audio, right? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I can use the Zoom audio. Just yeah, it's fine. Just give me a loud noise.
Quality.
Just clap in front of the microphone real quick, will you? Oh, that sucked. All right. Can you give me something? We'll do it after. So anyways, welcome back, Andrew.
Thanks. Sorry.
That's okay.
But with these two movies, and this is something that we will get into more in our first category of story. But I want to kind of even talk about it beforehand, which is that I almost like, because it has to do with like your intro, right? Like the summary of 1941 being about the people in California actually almost feels incorrect, because watching the movie, I made notes multiple times being like, who is the main character of this movie?
Oh, there isn't one.
Who is this about? I think the main character is the captain of the Japanese sub. I think this movie is actually
Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. Are you talking about like main character, or like the protagonist who goes through the hero's journey or whatever?
Correct. Yeah. Like, so
his growth. Yeah.
And like who this movie actually revolves around, and it's the Japanese crew.
I think you're right.
Like, this movie is actually their story. Like,
well, should we start story? Should we?
Yeah, we can get into
story.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
you.
Start story.
The segment where we talk about the stories of these films.
So essentially it goes like this. So I go, beginning with our first round, story. How'd it make you feel?
Right, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then Dan put some dings in. There's a whole thing. So yeah, exactly, an air horn. So anyway, to continue, that's my first thought about 1941, is that I just made so many notes talking about how it's not about anything. No one is doing anything. It's like less meaningful than this podcast. It's
Yeah.
And it tripled its investment. It tripled its investment budget and made $92 million.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, man.
I'll just start off by saying I think 1941 is way better than Saving Private Ryan.
Ooh, this is why
that
we
your real
brought you
opinion?
on.
Is that your honest opinion?
Here's the thing. I thought, because this was sort of around about my suggestion, at least to do 1941.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because I heard about it on another podcast, where I had never even heard of this movie before, and it sounded like an amazing. It's like this forgotten kind of Spielberg. Like, he did this crazy comedy right after he did Close Encounters and Jaws. So he was like given free reign to do whatever he wanted. And this is what he chose to do. And it was the way they talked about it in this other podcast was it's like this bombastic, insane, a director that was never told no a single time in the entire. And I was like, I can't believe I've never heard of this. I have to see this. And then so I wanted to do it on the pod, and the Saving Private Ryan seemed like a logical pairing, because it's like, you know, this like respected film, and but it's also Spielberg. And 1941 is like sort of considered to be a flop, even though it like made a bunch of money. Still, it still didn't do as well as like Jaws or Close Encounters or whatever. But it was like, it had this like kind of crazy like story, and like where the place it holds in Spielberg's filmography is kind of amazing. And he actually like disowned the movie. I'm like, this is so much more of like an interesting sounding movie to me than something like Saving Private Ryan, which is I actually hadn't seen before doing this, where it's like, it's one of those movies where it's like, it reminds me of, I watched Titanic recently for the first time. And it was like another movie like that, where it's like, I haven't seen it. And I say that to people, and people are like, oh my God, you haven't seen this movie? And I'm like, no, I haven't. But I kind of know what it is. Sure. I kind of get it, because it's just so in the culture. It's referenced so much. Yeah. It's talked about so much. And so I'm kind of like, I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, but I saw the opening, the D-Day sequence. Yeah. And like the old man wandering up to the grave or whatever. And
sir.
And so I kind of felt like I kind of got it. And then 1941 was this like insane thing. I was like, I don't even know what this is. And I was coming in. What it is. I was coming into this with a little bit of like I was afraid that I was gonna like just be a contrarian and like try to shit on Saving Private Ryan any way I could, and try to like boost up 1941 because I had it in my head that it was gonna be so great. But I'm actually genuinely relieved that I don't have to pretend that that's my opinion. That's actually my opinion.
Thank you for being honest
after going through these two movies.
I will agree with you that I think 1941 as an historical artifact of like a time and place is much more interesting than Saving Private Ryan as a historical artifact of a time and place.
No, I disagree. I think as a movie, it's more it's like a better film.
Okay.
It's
I
a
would
better film?
Yes.
There's a difference between being more entertaining and a better film. I just want to create that distinction.
No, I know.
right now.
Yeah. I think it's more entertaining and a better film.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you again opening up and being honest about it. I'm going to do my best just to shame you now for like.
That's great. Shame me now.
Bring out
And
the shame.
also, Sean, in terms of what you're saying about it being resting in an interesting point, I'm like, maybe. I think only if you have an interest in looking at Spielberg's cinematic journey does it have some sort of interesting place. I'm going to be honest. 1941 might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh, I would,
off.
I would say
watching it.
I don't
would
know.
not say
We
that.
had,
I
we
was
had
trying to think-
MVP
After
on
doing
this
a
show.
podcast where you watch
We did
nothing
what
but
on
like
the show?
dog shit movies.
We had MVP on this show.
I would rather watch MVP.
To
I
be
had a
honest,
better time.
probably so would I actually.
I had a
Okay, this
better
is-
time watching MVP.
this is actually-
you can name movies, and I'm going
This
to
is
tell
actually
you
really- no,
that like probably
This is actually really
not.
interesting though, because like I kind of assumed that you'd be like, it's kind of crazy and stupid, and it's dated and like not good. But to say like to come in with me saying it's better than Saving Private Ryan, to go up against you saying it's the worst movie you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
more of an extreme difference of opinion than I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, you're the problem, Jack.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean,
no one's the problem.
I know.
but in terms of movies, at least that we've had on this podcast, I was trying to think of a movie that I disliked more than this.
What was
movie.
that Sylvester Stallone movie with the race car fucking movie?
Oh, Driven.
Yeah, that was hot garbage. I would say
It's
that is
bad.
definitely worse than
But
than
these-
1941.
Yeah, but some of these movies had a badness that shifted up on the parabola, where it gets so bad that it loops up a little bit, even at times. And Driven has a bit of that. Like some of the movies we've watched are so bad that they drift back up. For me, 1941 sits right in the bottom of that badness parabola, where
There's some mathematical formula to find the exact point of like no return on a movie, right?
and it just doesn't come back up that other way. Where I'm like, this is so bad, it's good. I'm like, this is so bad, it's the worst.
Okay,
Right, so okay, go.
Yeah, so we're trying to break this down by category, Andrew, just so you know, because I'm sure you haven't listened. It's clear you haven't listened to any of the podcasts since you've been on. But do you, so if you I would like to know from a story perspective how you can justify saying that 1941 is a better film than Saving Private Ryan. And I ask this knowing that there are some fundamental flaws with the story in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It doesn't have. The story is not great.
That's a good question. So if you're thinking about like, what do you mean story? Like the plot is good?
Yeah, whether
how it's
writing, plotting, whatever.
Like a direction to a large part, like where your focus is supposed to be from moment to moment. We lump into that.
Okay, that seems like such a broad. Like I guess
It is.
It is.
That's where we have the most fun.
As opposed to what then? Like
And then we also have
'Cause to
sound.
me, like, where
Opposed to
your-
visuals, sounds.
okay, but like where your
acting.
focus is supposed to be to me is also a visual thing.
Sure,
well, let's
they're
go.
not
With,
that.
let's go with the premise. Let's go with the premise of the film.
Okay.
From a writing standpoint, the story that all the other aspects of the film support. Let's go with that. The premise.
Okay,
of
so the
movie.
premise that on whatever day, 1941, Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor, and there's this moment of hysteria on the West Coast where they all thought that Japan was going to bomb like California, and in this movie specifically, Hollywood. It's about the people in Hollywood losing their minds and becoming hysterical. That's a great premise for a movie.
It is a great premise.
And I talk about this all the time with other movies because I often defend movies.
And a lot of the events
on
in the
merit
movie
of
are
president.
sorry to cut you off, but a lot of the events in
right.
the movie are actually based off like real historical things, like the whole thing of like the gun being put in the house.
Yep.
And the sub, the whole interaction between like the sub off the coast or whatever. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted. What were you going to say, Dan?
No, I was going to say I will often defend the schlocky movies on this podcast on the merit of the premise, not necessarily the execution. But there is a difference, and I often get shit on because the execution is not good, even though the premise is strong. So, do you think that the execution of the movie does the premise justice?
Absolutely. I think it's
Go on.
Okay, first of all, it's a fucking comedy.
Is it?
Also
like-
debatable.
It's
I had a few laughs. I had a few laughs.
I didn't giggle more. Like I watched this by myself on my projector. I laughed all the way through the whole thing. I thought it was absolutely hysterical.
I think I might have actually laughed more during.
When she's like gets like this polar bear swimmer gets lifted up by a sub and she's naked.
Yeah,
and the Japanese
clever.
subs open up and they look up at this naked girl and they go, Hollywood, Hollywood. That's the second I knew this movie was better than Saving Private Ryan.
I think I actually might have laughed
It might have
more
been that
during
moment
Saving Private Ryan.
It might have been that moment or the moment when he does the air raid sound in the department store
again, yeah.
To like steal the zoot suit so he can go to the dance and impress the girl. And everyone starts screaming. The girl like runs up to the camera and goes, Japs! Japs! Japs!
Yeah.
That was the second moment I was
There's
like,
a lot
I'm
of
in.
yelling that, yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
This film as a script was like he went to the Hollywood supercomputer and asked it to analyze funny things from film history.
Yeah.
And to create a World War II script based upon a computer-driven algorithm that compiled a series of funny gags. And this was
come on.
Yeah,
When
exactly
they're
it.
dancing in the kitchen and they're like just pouring coffee and they're like trying to like do their dance dishwashing job and they're just throwing food all over the place.
Very impressive.
And Dan Aykroyd and John Candy in the thing, and Dan Aykroyd being like, the only thing I can't stand is Americans fighting Americans.
Yeah, but I kind of hate Dan Aykroyd, so it doesn't do it for me. And just like, but I agree with you, Sean. It does feel like that because it has these moments where it looks like it's inspired by like even older comedic movies. Like we watched, what's the Rat Race comparison one? The friggin'
Mad World.
Mad World, right? That like this idea of this like, oh, and then like guy gets pushed his face into cake. Har har. He hates eggs. Like it's stuff that it's like, who is this for and how it's being executed? So
it's Lakeside Players. Come on. This is the entire sense of humor of your fucking theater company.
No, this is where I'm afraid Lakeside Players goes to.
Yeah, you should be so bold.
I just no and no, but so there's I agree. What you described as the premise, is interesting. It's even funny just as a premise. Mm-hmm. It gets completely lost in this 2.5 hour movie of like bullshit and like a lot of sexism and misogyny and stuff. Like it's a lot. This movie, the plot, I think I was trying to make note of it, and racism. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, the racism is rough. But the sexism especially is really on blow.
It's satire.
The plot of the movie is more about guys getting laid. Like it wants to be Animal House, right? It wants to be National Lampoon's presents World War II.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is kind of what it is, because you have John Belushi hot off of the whole Animal House.
You have the most talented comedic actors that you could get at the time, quite frankly.
And you took him and you put him in a plane outside of the whole movie instead of being in the movie.
Yeah.
That's actually an important plot point though, because they when he flies through. But come on, the miniatures, just the miniatures alone of Hollywood Boulevard, is that not?
Oh yeah.
All
when we get to looks, this movie gets a lot of points. But story-wise,
okay, story. Fine, all right.
Story-wise, it is a lot of disconnected things that only loosely come together for the climax in very contrived ways that don't really all pay off, except for the Japanese sub-commander kicking Christopher Lee and his Nazi butt off of his submarine.
Yeah. But like the heroic moment is like even the Japanese people hate Nazis.
Yeah.
Seems to be the end of that journey.
Can't stand Brits playing Nazis.
And not to mention the whole, I think, as Dan said in the intro, kind of like rapey. The whole storyline revolving around dude with the zoot suit, the blonde woman who just, I think, wants to be left alone.
I think they just want to dance, right?
Who fully tries to rape her?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, just full on rapey. Well, the guy,
but he's not like supposed to be a good guy.
No, he's
the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying it's dark. And I thought it was also, I mean, part of me would have laughed if it wasn't actually quite horrifying when she's just being dragged under a tank. But it's like, it's done in this weird, as though like it is pulling her away. It's like this really weird looking visual aesthetic as part of that beat. But I just like tired of it all so quickly. And then to also have like the more like the thicker friend who is in love with rapey dude and just trying to get him, and that's supposed to be funny, and it's just it's all it doesn't translate to modern sentiments, I think, at all.
It's definitely like a 70s movie. Like it's definitely of its time, and it follows a lot of, you know, common tropes in terms of what was tolerated in terms of like racial humor or misogynistic humor, or like just basic plot points were mostly around guys trying to get laid in this like semi-aggressive way that we obviously don't like. You don't see that now in movies because the culture's changed, whatever. But like, so I don't know, to me you have to look at it through and see it as kind of like in a time capsule of like what most movies were like then. And also the whole like ethos of the time in the 70s, there was much more of an embrace of like, it's like dark. It's a comedy, but it's dark. It's a Hollywood blockbuster like Chinatown or like Bonnie and Clyde sort of started it all off, of these like, you know, big budget summer movies that are dark and have dark endings and are gritty, and it kind of just captures like the nihilism of that decade, which is kind of its own thing. So you have like movies that come out of that time that just kind of have a different like kind of edge and a grit, like a nastiness to them that I think signifies the decade itself more than this particular movie being like immoral in some way.
I will agree insofar as to say that you need to view these movies through the lens of what time they were created. I make that argument all the time, but the jokes still need to be funny. And I don't know how you can say that there's any sort of like grit to this movie whatsoever. It's like a fluffy.
Grit might be the wrong word, but all I'm saying is like there was just like a nastiness to the time. And like grit might be the wrong word in terms of like, like the grit of like toughness or whatever.
Belushi
like,
was rolling out of his heroin comas just into studio and like just
and
like,
you know, to me it's like
it.
Yeah, that's fucking
poor guy.
Yeah, Belushi is like going insane, but I think still very funny. I think I grew up watching Animal House. Belushi's like, I think he's great, and I understand how like people who don't like Belushi were like I watched with my girlfriend. I watched Animal House a while ago. And it was like, oh, Animal House is like one of my favorite comedies ever. And we watched it, and she was like, it's good. There's good moments, but I don't think I'm the audience for this. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're not a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Which is who I was when I watched it. And it kind of like etched itself in my brain. And so I think when I was watching this movie, it was like the 14-year-old boy in me was all of a sudden like excited and like giggling and like. It was just so ridiculous, and it would be, you know, it's one thing if you're looking at these dated jokes, blah blah blah, but just like the scope of it and like how far these bits go. Like I love scale, and it actually like there's a lot of parallels between this and Saving Private Ryan in terms of just like crazy set pieces and sequences, and like the Spielberg like oneer, in terms of filmmaking, they actually like were pretty similar from like a kind of visceral
still
perspective.
A good director when it comes to the visual stuff.
But that whole dance sequence in the middle, like when there was incredible as just as a piece of filmmaking. Like say what you want, but just like the choreography and like the Zoot Suit Kid in like it's like a single oneer. It starts on a close up. It backs up, goes up. He's fighting this guy, dancing with the girl, and then he just does a backflip. And like, there's just some gymnastics and choreography and shit that went into the making of this film. And it's like so built up, and there's such a huge budget behind it. And I love that it's actually all for the gag. The commitment to the bit is something that I have nothing but respect for when it comes to filmmaking.
But the bits aren't funny. We're dealing with a comedy, which is 2.5 hours, first of all, which is far too fucking long for any comedy ever.
The theatrical release was less than 2 hours, and then what we watched was the Spielberg director's cut. That is now, I guess, like the only cut you can find.
Fuck you, right? Steven Spielberg. How dare you release a director's cut of this movie?
I can only assume that the plane fetish plot got cut. I can only hope that whole plot got cut.
Yeah, I found that particularly
fuck?
bothersome too. That whole, I mean, we're talking about rapey vibes. It wasn't as overt as the other soldier, but just like that, the movie opens with her being like, I don't like you. Stay away from me. And then he's like, oh, she
undressing her
likes
in the
planes.
cockpit.
If I lure her into this plane, she'll sleep with me. And of course it works because it's a movie and it's the 70s. But the whole premise is, I'm going to fuck this girl who hates me. I'm going to exploit the one thing she likes and then manipulate her into sleeping with me.
Well, she only gets hot when she's in a plane. I don't know. To me, it's a very like it's like a dumb it's a dumb bit. It's a dumb joke. It's not meant to be like taken that seriously to me.
Well, no, you're not supposed to take it seriously, but there's also an issue, and we'll get to this too. But like, I also don't think the people are funny either. Like, I think the bits could be done funny in better hands, which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
have.
well,
But
that's
like,
the point where I can't argue. Like the jokes either land with people or they don't. Like,
yeah. But I will jump back briefly just to say that as Dan said, he often makes the argument that, we'll look at it through the lens of its time. And I go, no, we're watching the movie now and seeing how they hold up. I'm watching it through my lens right now. I'm not going to hypothetically put myself in the shoes of someone watching it before and going, oh, I might find that funny if I also was shitty towards other people. That's not how this works for me. So this movie just starts like, even though like I honestly rolled my eyes and I was like, oh, like you mentioned, like the polar bear swimmer at the beginning, that I'm like,
same woman who plays it in Jaws.
It's actually fully the same woman.
Same woman.
How,
so
first of
funny.
all, how embarrassing for him to do that send up of Jaws, which is just such a good movie.
It was 4 years removed, though. I mean, like, if you want to look for an explanation for how dare he,
I
whatever.
know. I mean, I know it's. I mean, that's not that long.
His
is my
film too,
thing.
right?
I thought the same thing. I thought the exact same thing. I thought it was embarrassing. Actually, is a good word for it, in my opinion.
Like, it's just, it reads as a childish choice. It literally is like, like, remember when, like, this reference is based on my really good movie that you liked.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of stupid, and it's the one part that involves a naked woman, all for this build up to the bit of which I didn't find funny of her being like even more embarrassed and stuff like that. It was a really bad start to the movie for me. In terms of the tone that would continue all the way through of women are only there to be slept with, and which is something that comes back if you watch a number of older, like what are supposed to be comedic movies. This came up before too. Like if you ever, I remember I thought I liked the movie Stripes because I'm a Bill Murray fan and stuff like that, and I rewatched it not too long ago, and that movie is fucked. Like it's atrocious. And I think you talk about like, oh, it's just different, the different sentiments. And I go, yeah, but those sentiments were horrible, and how they translated to film are horrible. And that's how this movie reads to me. It just feels like that.
I guess in the movie's defense, I will say that one moment you're talking about, and this is kind of to Andrew's point earlier, that kind of is the commentary even then, right? The fact that the Japanese guy points to her naked on a little staff there and saying this is Hollywood. I just think it's kind of ironic that the movie then goes on to perpetuate its own,
to be Hollywood. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But that is that I didn't think the moment was funny, but I did think it was clever. And then so it kind of set me up to expect more. Oh, Andrew just got sick of us. He got tired of being bullied.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't think it was funny, but I thought it was a clever commentary. So it set me up to expect more of the same, and then I didn't get any of that.
Yeah,
I thought I was going.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
wondered if it was commentary. That it's
I
like,
think
are
for
you
sure it was.
commentary or are you like? Yeah, it's just a tricky thing. It's if you want to have your cake and eat it too with your commentary, are you even making commentary? I don't know. It's that weird thing where it smells like you want to make that commentary, but you're still going to do the same Hollywood thing and perpetuate it. So I don't know. It's almost worse.
Yeah, this movie
than if
felt
you
a lot like it wanted to be like a Mel Brooks-esque kind of movie.
it wanted to be like it's a year before
or
Airplane, but
Airplane, right.
I directly it's the same exact kind of tone and had a couple of the same actors too. Robert Stack was in it.
Yeah, yes, he
as
was.
the general. Yeah.
And
Should we move to Yep. No, you go.
I was gonna say like, but it also wants to be Animal House.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm guessing Animal House came out.
Yeah, I think it had just come out because Belushi had already made it. Yeah.
Yeah,
When he
and so
did this.
It looks like when they got Belushi, they were like, just do your Animal House thing.
Yeah. You got Dan Aykroyd. You got John Candy and Joe Flaherty going, and
Yeah,
Joe Flaherty, right? That's
Yeah.
that
credited
was
as
Raoul,
Joseph P. Flaherty. Yeah.
right? Interesting.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what this movie was about. Anyway, so let's talk about Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious as to, you say there are some glaring issues with it, and I can sort of think of some, but I would love to be enlightened.
Well, okay. Sean, I'm sure you have points, but I just want to talk about
Yeah,
mine
please.
first.
That's fine.
So
I'm happy you're speaking up. It's great.
what, are you implying that I don't normally speak
That's
up?
great,
Are you
buddy.
implying-
No, it's gret. No, buddy, it's great.
Ooh, am I striking a nerve right now, Sean?
No.
Your voice is ready to be heard.
I hate you both right now.
Speak proud, bud. Speak proud.
All right, I'm going to leave too. Actually, how do I get out of this meeting? No, so Saving Private Ryan. I think I've seen this movie maybe once before, but I remember very little of it. There's no doubt that it's a great movie, but I think it's solely about the visuals, because when you talk about the premise of the film, I think the fundamental flaw of the movie, like I touched on in my synopsis there, is the fact that there's no fucking way ever that the head of the U.S. Army is going to prioritize one soldier's life over anybody else's.
It was real.
One that was real? This is a real story?
It's based on a real story. Yeah.
What was the real story?
Same premise. Like I think it was three. I think it was two brothers. I don't know. I think it was four brothers, and he was the fifth. And the army got him and sent him home.
The army sent like a group of 8 other.
No. I think I don't think it was as dramatic as this was. They make it out to be in this. They just they found him and he went home.
Okay, so there wasn't like a rescue mission sent out
so.
for him. Okay, see that's
But
the
if
problem.
he was
It's
somewhere in the war, it might have involved some risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where Dan, I think not only is
thought
that
the
not
same,
true.
though.
Oh, but I don't think the same. I think they absolutely would. They even refer to it in the movie as a PR mission.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because you like them.
I'm
they
sort of
know,
back, by the way.
you sort of. You're
Are
getting
you-
there?
I mean,
Are you-
I'm not. I ditched my
Zoom?
because my computer was like freezing. Like
Mhm.
there's not something that's never happened before.
Weird.
So I'm just doing Zoom. Is that okay, Dan, or do you?
That's fine.
All right.
That's fine. We'll make do.
Use my Zoom audio for the whole thing.
It's a COVID
Yeah.
podcast. No one cares.
Yeah. But no, but they like, again, those people know, especially the higher ups, because they're also dealing with like home relations, right? So they know that war is also has to do with the morale of the country. So
Yeah, I think my gripes with that premise is that general who has the impassioned speech quoting Abraham Lincoln, writing blah blah. That never happened. The real
Yeah.
conversation was like, oh shit, this will be a nightmare if that guy kicks it. Okay, just like grab him, send him home, make sure he's not shot at. Fucking ugh.
No, but
Exactly.
not even that. No, but sorry, but not even that. Let's be real. The real conversation is they're going to bring him home, and then they're going to ship him around and have his story told
Yeah,
about
that's
how
true.
he, like, that's what they say. When it's a PR mission,
Yeah.
they're going to use him as propaganda.
Yeah.
To
Hitler killed my brothers.
So you risk 8 people and bring one back, but as a result, you probably get another 1,000 to enlist. Like that's the move. That's what it's really about. It's not about.
But they did. But in real life, they didn't do that. In real life, they were able to just locate him wherever he was and just like,
I
send
don't
a
know the full
message to send
story.
him home.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as dramatic as this version of that.
Sorry, Jack. Is that a point that's in the plot of the movie, or is that just the general?
Which
strategy?
point?
The idea that the only reason we're rescuing him is to do this PR thing to improve morale or whatever.
No,
but
it's
they
not
do.
in this movie.
They don't. But the only semblance of that is that they refer to it as a PR mission or
Who
a
does
PR
that?
something,
Who
a
refers
PR
to it as that?
assignment.
Brian
because
Cranston?
the scene with the general, and they like that whole like little sequence where like they go through the telegram setter,
Yeah.
and they like find oh my god, I'm about to send these 3 letters, how, and then it's like this quiet thing, and they have this little meeting, and then he rushes over to the general, and then they're like,
it was all bullshit.
One voice of reason is like, wait, why are we doing this? And then they're like, and then he gives the Abraham Lincoln speech, the music plays, and then they develop this whole mission. I didn't get the whole PR. Like they may have referred to it as a PR thing, but as a central like plot point, was that actually the main thing, or did I miss it?
No. It's supposed to be a humanitarian effort on the government, but what we're saying is that in reality, he would just be brought back to make more people enlist. Yeah, and we only hear the FUBAR.
We hear it later back in France that when Tom Hanks is being given the assignment, I think the person says, "Hey, I've got a PR thing for you."
Oh, I missed
what?
That.
We hear it in there. He says he refers to it as like a PR mission or PR assignment or something like that. That's about public relations.
I missed that entirely because I just remember him saying, "This is a hard job. That's why it was given to you. I've got another one for you."
Yeah.
Someone says it either, or maybe Tom Hanks says it to someone else. It's in that vein though. After this like the sieging of the beach, that it comes up. So that's the thing. Anyway, so it's. And I completely believe that. I find that a very believable thing that honestly any smart military would do, because you want to also convey to the people that like each individual matters. You know what I mean? That it's not like you let everyone
Except
go
for
and
the
die.
Individuals that are going to die to bring them back.
And once they're already gone to war, that's fine. Where they're
yeah, but it's just about a good story. That's
exactly
the thing.
Yeah, it is. It
doesn't matter.
This movie is hard fiction, like hard, steamy fiction.
Yeah,
you know.
But other than that, because again, we can keep debating that. But what else stood out in this movie as things that you kind of?
Well, that's the story. That's the main. That's the only story in this movie. It's just you go from camp to camp looking for this guy, and then there's a couple of really lengthy. And like fucking graphic war scenes. That's the whole film. It presents
itself. I think he does it pretty deliberately. He presents this film as if it were a grand Greek mythical adventure, right? Like it's almost the Odyssey. It's almost like Jason and the Argonauts. As they meet these barriers and they have to overcome them, or their own hubris causes a catastrophe to happen to them, and ultimately the goal is futile, but the surrender of yourself for another is what it's all about. You know, that selfless act, it makes everything righteous, I guess. And that kind of mythical lens in that time frame of the late 90s, it mixed in with a lot of other like military pop culture that's in there. A lot of people point to as an era that allowed the Iraq War to just happen with no evidence whatsoever, and people were like, "That's fine." You know, the selfless sacrifice is what we take in from our pop culture, and that's all we know about war. So, like, invade that faraway country; it'll be a great adventure, and who cares?
Yeah, what's the really horrifying quote that they say almost nobly that Upham says? "'Tis our duty not to ask why, but to do and die." Yeah, right. Like this idea that. You just
this movie
follow
embraces
orders.
But at the same time, it is trying to present it as it is the FUBAR. Like the fact that they have to do it is fucked up beyond all recognition. But they're also being like, but it's brilliant. Like, isn't that what humanity is about? That we can do this thing. So it's eating cake and having it. You know.
See, I would have been okay with
the
that
conversation, right?
I would have been okay with that angle if they had portrayed the heads of the military as like the evil entity that it is, because then the soldiers believing that is kind of like shining a reflection back onto reality, because that is what they're indoctrinated to believe, right? Soldiers are taught to believe that what they're doing is noble, that their job isn't to ask questions, it's to take orders because they're doing the civil duty of defending their country.
Yeah,
like that's all totally right.
I would have respected this movie way more if the conversation was, this will look really good for us. You know, when he comes back, this will be a really good story. Like, trust me, we'll get more.
But Spielberg isn't cynical. Spielberg isn't a cynical human being.
No.
Especially, like, at this point in his career, he's making Jurassic Park, this, like, AI. So he's in, like, kind of like a childlike wonder mode, looking back at the things in his life and reevaluating his belief structures a little bit.
Sorry, I dropped out for a second there. Are we in the story critique?
Let's say, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody brought this up, but the one story point, you know what? As a movie watcher, story is actually maybe the least thing I care about the least.
Interesting.
In terms of like what the plot is, or like I'll never be like, well, that doesn't make sense. This plot point and I'm like, it's a fucking movie, dude. Are you entertained? Are you going along for the ride, or are you not?
Certainly.
Every once in a while, something irks me, and then I think about it for a second, and I let it. I usually just let it go, and in this case, I did let it go. I don't actually care that much. But the one plot point that irked me a little bit, and maybe you can correct me on this, but the one moment where they're kind of out of ideas. And they're like going through the necklaces of like the dead soldiers or whatever, dog tags, and then they're like, we're not gonna find this. Plus, they're like doing it in front of like all the people that are coming back, which is, it's like when they're like, and then Tom Hanks just starts calling his name, and it's like Ryan, Ryan, and it's like it was kind of moved in that moment. It's like he's doing a desperate attempt. And he's like calling it, into the void for like answers in this desperate moment. But then some guy is like, "Yeah, he's over there."
Yeah, right. Yeah, it pays off.
Like, okay, and then that's the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a little thin plot wise. I'll go with it. But that was the one moment that kind of stuck out as like a bit of a thin like story moment.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I also didn't understand the kind of chain of beats that led him to start shouting in the first place, because he just realized he was in a position where he was actually doing something awful, I guess, and really and disrespectful and inconsiderate in front of these other soldiers. So you would think that his next move would be to like pack up the dog tags and kind of hang his head and just like walk away from the group, but instead he thrust himself in the middle of the group and started shouting. I wasn't really sure that like the chain of thoughts there didn't really connect for me.
Yeah, I mean that was okay. Like people just do things kind of spontaneously, whatever. But like also, and I think it also stuck out to me in a movie like Saving Private Ryan, where like it would obviously no plot point would ever cause me any problems in a movie like 1941 because the whole thing's ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. But Saving Private Ryan is like a purportedly like it's like respected for its realism and like its realistic portrayal. And maybe this is a true story. I don't fucking know. It might very well be. And like that's maybe the only thing I could really chalk it up to is like this miraculous coincidence that actually happened. Like truth is stranger than fiction, kind of.
But I don't find it miraculous. That's the thing. Like they established pretty clearly that this is a big rallying point for a lot of the
different units that have broken up.
Yeah, and the air battalions, and they know that people have been scattered all over. So you have people from all these different regiments or whatever. I always forget a regiment, battalion, whatever. Yeah. But they've all and like a bunch of them have ended up and passed through this rallying point. So to me, it actually makes sense that he and if you want to talk about the beat to beat of whatever, then that's that's kind of also Tom Hanks doing his thing of why he realizes this thing is insensitive and goes, well, fuck this. Like his energy also, I get the impression that he just wants to get it done. Like he doesn't want to keep doing this mission as well.
Yeah.
And so he's like, fuck it.
Because the bodies are piling up, right? Like he's losing men on a mission that he shouldn't be on in the first place.
Yeah. Because if the thing is, when he started calling out, I was like, yeah, that's what I would do. I would just start this is the most soldiers I'm going to have who were in the same division of the army that he was in that I'm going to see probably for a while. I'd just be like, yeah, does anyone fucking know Ryan? Like, I'm looking for this person, Ryan. Like, that's actually your best bet is just to yell out and try and find someone who goes, yeah, I know that guy.
For sure. I think that is his best bet because they have nothing. But it just was like a little quick that they got him.
Sure. But then it's not like they don't find him.
Like, there's so many people. Like the odds of that happening to me seem like crazy small.
Sure.
Again, I don't care. Whatever. Yeah. It's a movie.
Yeah,
it's like maybe a story gripe that I had.
Because then they happen to be in the same field that their camp.
Also, the name is fucking Ryan. Like I bet they would all be like, but then they'd have the like crying guy. Which, by the way, there was a lot of inadvertent comedy in. I don't know, maybe not inadvertent, but like the fact that actor had like a full breakdown.
Nathan Fillion.
And like that actor had to audition
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
With that particular scene.
You have to go there, but it's not real, and it's not a gag in the movie, but that's how I.
But it is funny.
They play it as kind of funny.
I actually burst out laughing. I was like, and he's like, and they just kind of leave him like, I should go home, shouldn't I? Oh.
But maybe
Ted Danson's holding his hand.
Maybe the mix-up is that they got the wrong brothers of the wrong Ryan.
And Tom Hanks just like stoically walks away.
He's like, no. He's like, it's not. He's like,
but it's like the whole point of it though is like the guy's name is Ryan. Like, come on.
But also like on this stupid mission they shouldn't be on. Now they've traumatized a human being through bad intel.
Yeah. I mean, that trauma is maybe the least of their worries.
Sure. There's a lot of other trauma happening that,
that is all I thought about the entire fucking movie was just how fucked up all these people would be after.
Is it Eli Roth when they've finished taking the bunker in the opening scene and he just like, he jokes around, makes a couple jokes with the guys and he turns around, sits down and just starts uncontrollably sobbing.
Yep.
And you're like, oh God.
Wait, which one is Eli Roth?
The one who has my least favorite way to die in any film.
Fuck.
Slow over the top.
The knife guy?
Yeah.
That's Adam Goldberg.
Oh, it's Adam Goldberg.
And Eli Roth. That Sean is an anti-Semite.
That's me.
There it is.
His Jews.
Oh, you're the one with the views on Israel.
That's true.
Yeah. Or well, they got cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is that's the fucking worst. The slow knife over top as he's saying, "No, it's fine. No, just go to sleep."
That was such a moment. Like there's to me, I laughed at Saving Private Ryan just because it got so, and it's war. Like it's and like those sequences were the best I think that the movie had. But like it was just like fucked up, shoveled on more fucked up. Where like I thought that they shot the guy with the ammo by accident. That's what I thought the moment was, and then he was gonna fall.
Yeah. Right.
But then more Germans came in and fucked them. But then they're fighting, and then he just gruesomely stabs him through the heart. And then the ammo guy is actually down at the bottom, and he's still alive.
Yeah.
That's intentional. They want you to think that maybe it was Upham for a second.
Yeah. And then the soldier walking down looks at Upham and realizes that he is like zero threat whatsoever, and is
what is also the guy that saved his life, right? And like let him go. Yeah.
Who he kills later.
Wait, no, that's a different beat. You're thinking. Wait, the guy who stabs the dude is not the dude they let go.
Is not the dude that what?
That they let go earlier.
Yes, he is.
No, it's not.
I'm almost 100% sure he is because they feature that guy. That's like a story point. That's what that connecting thread is.
He comes back, but he's just on the bridge. He's the guy who shoots Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
It's not the same guy. They have similar short haircuts. It's not the same guy.
Are you sure, man?
Positive.
That the ammo guy shoots later?
Yeah.
The ammo guy shoots him later. That's the same guy they released, but the guy who stabs the dude in the heart is not that same soldier.
Oh, I thought it was the same guy.
Yeah,
they look super similar. I thought so too, but if you look at their faces, it's
why did he shoot that guy then?
Because that's actually the first time that he sees him again.
Sees who again?
Sees the guy they released.
Who like wandered off. Oh, that's that guy. And
otherwise, he probably would have shot him on the stairs because of what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the same guy. He's wearing that guy has he has grayish German army fatigues, and the guy
he has like camo or something, right?
No, he's in like an SS uniform. The ammo guy's whole arc was that he shoots the guy that
he does.
Yeah. Yes. Oh no, he shoots the guy they let go at the earlier scene.
That's funny. That's disappointing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why he goes Upham. He says his name, so he shoots him.
Upham. Yeah.
Right.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to show you how these guys just blend together and all die in different ways.
Yeah. I actually kind of enjoyed a bit more. I've seen Saving Private Ryan a number of times. Yeah. And I thought it was actually kind of charming, like in a different version of this movie, how at the end it actually turns into Home Alone. Which is all defending a position really is, but it's this them being like, well, Like it's them setting up traps and like devising sneaky ways to get through the situation, but it has a Home Alone-esque vibe. It's not done in a quirky, silly way. No. But I half expected Tom Hanks to be like, yeah, and if you just like tie some paint cans to the roof with some stones in them, and then you trigger at the doorstep when they come through, like it'll knock the Germans out. There's a different version of this world where I guess Spielberg waited for 1941, but he made that movie before, but it's that he got it all out, I guess. So where that could have happened, but even still, I kind of like the vibe of it, of them. I love that in a movie where people are like gonna defend a position with sneaky tactics. Something that I almost always enjoy. You almost expect, as they're shoveling dirt and
The Deus Ex Machina ending did disappoint me. I forgot that's how that battle ended, with the planes coming in and saving the day.
Oh yeah,
angels on our shoulders.
Yeah, but that happens all the time in war movies, where it's like they just gotta hold it until the planes get there.
Yeah,
and it's like,
but they weren't expecting relief.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Were they expecting people to come in?
If they weren't there, the Germans would have like gone ahead further.
Yeah.
But again, it's like these like narrow increments of time where it's like just happens to line up, and it's like a lot. But I guess maybe that's what war is. It's just like these weird moments where like you get lucky, kind of.
Hurry up and wait.
I think there are moments of it. I don't think planes doing a flyby would like immediately change the tide of that battle. But
if they're really good bombardiers, sure. But there's no targeting.
And if only one side has planes, I think.
Yeah, if only one side has planes.
Well, whatever. It's
a movie.
It's a movie.
Whatever. Like if you want to get into like the details of military strategy and what the planes arriving would mean,
which I can go into if you want.
Sorry,
I can go into if you want, but.
No, but I think it's meant to symbolize that also, like, it's not just the planes, that like there's more stuff right behind them.
Like another division rolls up behind them, but we never heard that was never mentioned as like, oh, the 16th is supposed to arrive and relieve us, but they've been we haven't heard from them in 2 days. Just that line would have been fine.
Didn't they actually say that though when they first get to the camp where Ryan is? Didn't they say they'd been waiting on relief and that nobody had shown up or something?
I know that happens when they're in the rainy clock tower town, when Vinny when Caparzo can't bear to see the little girl up there, so he foolishly runs
what
into
a
the street.
fucking stupid moment that is.
And then flails around on the ground.
That didn't make any sense to me at all. Anyways,
I'm just gonna walk it down to the next town.
Yeah, no, Captain, it's okay. She reminds me of my niece. It's okay.
Caps didn't say it in Private Ryan. I kept being surprised by the different. Paul Giamatti was my favorite.
Ted Danson.
I love Paul Giamatti.
And then that like ginger guy who's at the camp at the end. I don't know who that guy was, but
he's. I know I recognize him from something too.
Oh, and the general who reads the Abraham Lincoln. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. That's the like the father from Fargo. You know what I'm talking about?
The show Fargo or the movie?
The general at the beginning, he like reads the speech and like does the deep. Right. He's the guy in Fargo who William H. Macy's trying to rip off, and he meets him at the parking garage and gets shot. And he's like,
"Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I like this or whatever." Yeah. That's the same guy. And Paul Giamatti went through. And then the penultimate the ultimate one is Matt Damon, who is that weird actor that keeps kind of popping up.
Yeah. This was his first pop though.
Faces, and it's
this was the first pop.
Matt Damon, who I guess at the time was pretty young and wasn't.
Good Will Hunting was the year before.
Was that the year before?
Yeah.
So that was like his breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
So, but then I love in Interstellar when they like open the casket. And it's
hey, Matt Damon.
I love that it's. I wish they had the balls to be like, oh my god, it's Matt Damon.
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Loki, why do you look like Matt Damon in this Thor movie? Yeah, totally. But then you have Giovanni Ribisi in there too. I like him, and Battlefield Earth guy. As
the sniper. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
And the dude who plays the Sarge. This is kind of not really acting notes, but just talking about them as a group.
Yeah.
I think it's funny in terms of the story how quickly the whatever you want to call it, the group becomes like defiant of their commanding officer, how often they're like, this is bullshit. Yeah. Like, I don't know how much you can say that.
Oh, out in the field, absolutely.
It also
especially
doesn't
if you trust your captain.
Yeah.
Because like they're ribbing him.
It happens once, really, right? Like, there's only one real kind of standoff. They complain, but there's only one time where he like really.
Yeah.
My favorite moment was like the most Tom Hanks moment in the whole thing, where like Tom Sizemore is like putting a gun to this guy's head, and of course Tom Hanks is like, "So what was the like pool up to?"
What's the pool at?
He interrupts this whole like tense moment with like some like totally innocuous question, and somehow with his gravitas just captures everyone's attention. And
with
I was
his
like,
acting,
only fucking Tom Hanks could pull that. There's not a single other actor who could actually do that beat. I don't think.
No,
I don't even think that he did it properly. I don't even think that he actually like that moment didn't play for me at all. And it's not a Tom Hanks thing, it's a writing thing. Like that information alone would not be enough to fucking diffuse that situation.
No, in reality. But in fantasy Tom Hanks land, it totally works.
I don't know.
Okay, but this is my whole thing about like realism in movies. I don't give a fuck.
That's how he diffuses tense situations at home.
Like, but comparing like cinema to reality, of course, probably not. That wouldn't happen. But.
No, but I think for it to work in a movie, it has to instill that feeling in you as a viewer. You know what I mean? Like I have to be able to sit there and put myself in the shoes of the person who is holding the gun, hear that monologue, and be like, "Oh yeah, okay." Tom
Sizemore and Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks could do that to Tom Sizemore.
I agree.
Which is why we hire them for the movie. Not everybody.
But Tom Sizemore.
But yeah, there's not a ton of story in Saving Private Ryan. There is a lot of feelings. Simple. There is a lot of feelings in the movie.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the whole plot of what I actually liked about Saving Private Ryan was the kind of, as Tarantino refers to it, the bunch of guys on a mission. That element of it was what worked the best, and why I loved all the sequences, and you're rooting for these guys and they're the heroes, and it's great, and it's that's the entertainment value. Everything else surrounding it, like the score, I found unbearable.
Yeah.
The second you want to
we'll get to that. What
we're supposed to glean what meaning from this movie. I'm like, oh, it's propaganda. It's
war is good. War is bad, but war is good.
As gruesome as it is, it's like war sure is nasty, but god dang it, we gotta do what's right. And it's like,
it's funny you brought up Tarantino, because in the final scene when our buddy from Battlefield Earth is up in the clock tower, and he knows he's done for because the Tiger tank is rolled up, and he's just kills a guy, kills two guys in the square, and the bodies are piling up. The actual in Inglourious Bastards, the propaganda film that German man, it's him in the sniper tower. Tarantino actually made a real 8-minute film to play in that part of the thing. And I went and I watched that, and some of the shots are identical. So he is full on being like, your movie is nothing but propaganda, Steven. I'm going to make it stupid and my own thing here.
I also think that Tarantino loves Saving Private Ryan.
Of course, it's gory as shit.
Yeah.
Well, and Tarantino also loves just flat out stealing scenes from other people's movies, right?
Yeah.
Homage, bro.
Yeah, homage.
But
is it an homage if you steal it shot for shot? If if it's
the colorized
identical?
Psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think here's the thing. So the last thing I want to say about Saving Private Ryan is that I hear you, right? It's a very simple storyline, right? It's go get the guy. Guys, go get the guy, guys.
And that's bad.
Yeah, and that's that. And then you talk about the premise. Well, the premise of Saving Private Ryan is World War II is starting from the D-Day is the American involvement. Yeah, what about Hitler? So it's not that it's flimsy. It's just broad. It's just general, right? It's this story plus the grand scope of what World War II is, right? Which they're not, and they don't try and tackle it in its entirety. They want to show a singular story within it. so that's why, like, I wouldn't say that this movie is like lacking in substance. It's just that it's a simple story within, again, a very broad
but the simple
idea.
objective is that's what a good plot is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You always know what they're trying to do, right?
Oh yeah, and I also like the premise idea of just saying the premise is World War II. I mean, the premise of 1941 is World War II. Like the premise of Saving Private Ryan is about a group of specific soldiers on a specific mission to save this guy. It's a more specific premise than that.
In a crazy
conflict. I'm speaking broadly as well, but it's like, I'm just saying, like, the rest of what you would consider like the story or the narrative or whatever is just about how World War II is happening, right? It's them versus that a lot of the time, right?
Should we move into the next one?
Yeah,
we've storied a long time.
Yeah, let's say end of that round. And let's get into our second round, which is, ooh, looks. How'd that make you feel, Dan? Specifically, Dan.
We gotta keep working on that, man.
That's the one that we said we liked.
Is it? I guess. I mean, it does make me feel things. How did the looks make me feel? Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I think that is where Saving Private Ryan thrives. I mean, to the point you just made about World War II being the premise, and it kind of being a movie that's supposed to kind of showcase the as close to the reality of being in war as you can get. This movie does a fantastic job, I think. I've never been in war, I don't know, but these extended war scenes that just are so fucking brutal, coupled with like really kind of, there's some really quiet moments, really subtle moments that have no dialogue, and it's just highlight kind of the individual experience of each soldier having to kind of go through this. It evoked a lot. It evoked more feelings in me, more emotional responses in me than any movie has in a long time.
Yeah, that beach scene is masterful. It's apparently so realistic that, like, when veterans watched it, they like had to leave the room. Like, it gave them horrible flashbacks because it was so real.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, like, you have this kind of, movies do a great job of kind of idealizing and glorifying war. And this movie doesn't really do that. This movie at no point like the stuff with the heads of state kind of try to make it seem like the military is humanitarian and like doing the right thing, but like the brutality that they show about like what war would really be like. And it's not just like a scene. Like, there's two sections in this movie that are like fucking 40 minutes long of just constant
people exploding.
War. Like constant but consistent bombardment of people exploding and getting shot from random places, and it's all fucking random, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
So I thought from a visual standpoint, this movie was stunning for the most part. There was a couple of
super well too.
Yeah. There were a few things on the D-Day scene specifically that kind of bothered me. Some of the technical aspects were a little disjointed. It seemed like, I remember, like, there's certain sequences where from shot to shot the lighting is like totally different, which kind of threw me off. But that's me being a bit of a film snob, I guess.
You can snob here.
Yeah, but generally, I found it really stressful and really unsettling, and I think that was the point. And so I think the movie did its job in that regard. And it's amazing how with just the visuals they were able to get me on board with fucking slaughtering Nazis. You know what I mean? Like the sense of just like satisfaction I got every time they just fucking mowed down a group.
But doesn't that mean that it's glorifying war? Like, doesn't the fact that you look at the carnage, but then you get on board with making that carnage happen for a bad guy?
But I think
glorifying it.
It was only because I was already behind like I'd watched so many of our protagonists die brutal fucking deaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they get their vengeance, I mean, and obviously none of it is right. None of it is right. But I think that the same way, like when you feel defensive of somebody and they get hurt, you want to see that person hurt.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, it's bred into like, you know, the protagonist viewer relationship is you want to see them and their friends be happy, and anyone who comes up against them, you want to see them be sad.
I mean, if it's those guys in the fucking pillboxes at the beginning, fuck those guys for sure, at the very least.
The Czechs. I don't know. I watch it with subtitles,
right.
and when they come out of the box and there's it says shouting in Czech. So that's something that if you don't have them on, you're like, oh, they're not even German. They've probably just been like pressed into this.
Fuck. That sucks.
Czechs, like, yeah, fucking fuck Czechs.
Yeah, fuck the Czechs.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if we're talking about fuck certain people, fuck the Czechs too.
The Slovaks, though, they're a fine people.
Oh, they're very fine people.
Yeah,
on both sides. So, yeah, I agree with you, Dan. Though, like, I think this movie is like, let's be real. I think a lot of it is a pretty simple story to act as a device because they wanted to make an epic visual war movie. Right?
100%.
Spielberg is always about those visuals. Every single film is meticulously thought out about every. Although apparently the opening beach scene he shot. He didn't storyboard. He just wanted to see like what the set looked like on the day, and then he planned the shots around the like route that he decided the soldiers were going to go on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense to me. I don't know how you could possibly storyboard a scene like that. It's so long. And it's so fast.
They probably just had some ideas. Like there'll be a moment that this happens. There'll be a moment that this happens, and we'll just figure out how these things connect and how we edit them together. And yeah, so the beginning and the ending, and then there are some shots where it's just like some guys walking in a field. And you're like, all right, but like that's what it was.
It's the Lord of the Rings 2 years before the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, bit of LOTR. And so I feel like that kind of encapsulates, like it's one of those things where I don't know what else to say about. There are some, again, I'm not going to get into specifics too much of like things within it, like even that D-Day scene that are so iconic, like things that I always remember, like the shot of the guy whose helmet gets glanced. Yeah. And he takes it off and he puts his hand through his hair and then he gets a bullet in the head.
Yeah. That guy deserved to die, by the way.
Yeah, fucking idiot.
100%. That guy fucking deserved to die.
That's kind of how it feels, eh? Which is fucked. But you know, so there's lots of individual moments in there that are also super iconic for me, at least. But also, I feel like that's kind of the whole movie. It's like that's it. It's that times, 2.5 hours, involving rain and Vin Diesel and a field and some dead cows, and then it's that.
Yeah.
But
done well.
I guess it is done well. And what really impressed me was it didn't get redundant.
Yeah.
Which normally, if you're just watching fucking gruesome violence for that long, you kind of just tune out. But they escalated it in a way that kept it engaging.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andrew?
We're on visuals now?
Yeah.
We're on looks.
For Private Ryan, or if you want to switch over.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, it's so weird to think of these two movies as like, it's like 1941 to me is like a 70s movie. And so like, I think of like the movies from that time and I get nostalgic about how movies looked back then. And, I think of that as like another time. And then I think of like movies like from the like especially the late 90s and 2000s as like modern movies, right? And it's like, they don't look like movies. They look like movies look like that I'm familiar with as like an adult, just this is just one. But like watching Saving Private Ryan, I'm like, movies don't look like this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Movies do not look like this movie. And it's a lot to do with, I think, honestly, just fucking budget. And like, no one's going to throw, or like budget or what they're going to throw the budget at. Like a lot of like these big movies that are made at that on the scale, like fucking Marvel movies where it's all CGI and blah, 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 blah. You have someone like Spielberg who came out of this age of like genuine filmmaking and using real film, practical effects.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like it's the end of the 90s and it's like the last gasp of that. I was like,
to elevate your point here, the cinematographer Janusz Kaminski, he said he and Spielberg didn't want it to look like a Technicolor extravaganza like most war films had been, but they wanted to make it look like newsreel footage from the 40s. So they stripped the coating from the lenses on the cameras, making them more like cameras in the 40s. And without that coating, he says the light goes in and bounces around and diffuses it across the film strip, I guess. So that's why you get that like grainy, washed out kind of look on the film. Yeah.
So it's hold on, news footage from the 40s as if we had modern-ish news cameras in the 40s, or like what actual movie cameras in the 40s look like?
They used modern cameras, but the lenses they stripped a kind of like a diffusion coating out of it to allow more light in to wash out the picture a bit more and make it more grainy and more more contrasty.
So they wanted to give like the essence of that look without like trying to recreate it too specifically.
And I think I don't know, like I compare war movies I think are a fascinating genre. Because I just love as a genre, like war movies as a genre, same as horror movies. And like, what makes a war movie work? What makes a war movie not work? I don't know. There is something about the modern sheen that makes me, I don't know, a little disconnected from it. To me, it just still feels kind of fake. It still feels like a movie. It still feels like a cinematic experience that I was kind of used to. And I'm like, oh, this is just like what movies look like.
Yeah.
Whereas I watch movies like Apocalypse Now, to me you feel like you're there, and it's like, and you actually have Coppola like waving soldiers by as like a scene in that movie, and there's something about like the way that movie looks that like, and plus the fact that it was like made only like a few years after Vietnam. Yeah. Compared to like, you're making a movie in 1998, you're trying to make it look like 1940, 42, 43, whatever. Mm-hmm. So there is an artificiality to it, which to me isn't a bad thing. It's just like when you're like watching realism, I'm like, I don't really quite buy it as realism. To me, I'm still watching a movie.
Sure, yeah.
So, but with that said, watching it now in this dog shit age of garbage movies, especially like 2019 is like the last year of movies to me. Okay. Obviously, it's because of the pandemic, but I don't know if things are actually going to bounce back. And
no, movies are dead.
I mean, we'll see. But it was interesting watching a movie like Saving Private Ryan, and it's like I'm nostalgic for the way that this movie looks, and I'm all of a sudden looking at this movie as a time capsule. And it's also just getting older, whatever. But like, it was weird to be nostalgic for the late 90s.
Yeah,
and it's also like we don't have tours like that anymore. We have like a couple. Paul Thomas Anderson, Tarantino is making one more movie. Ari Aster is like, to me, like the golden child.
Oh yeah.
But to me, like if you don't have an auteur, or at least a one man's or one woman's whatever singular vision, it's not
becomes studio problem. Yeah,
great as if you have someone with a singular vision, someone like Spielberg, someone.
Yeah, and this kind of bridges me into my thought about what you said, Andrew, about like, again, it's a budget and it's like a commitment to the filmmaking. And I think a big thing I think the word that I would use to describe what the actual barrier is in terms of the producing studios is risk. I think studios don't want to risk on practical sets. Like, I think there's something about that seems risky, as opposed to CGI feels safe.
I mean, we could also talk about how China's taken over the world, but that's all.
Well, yeah, there's that influence.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, that's Sean's
they had to not have
really
America planting the flag on the moon in First Man because the Chinese government rejected that. And if they wanted it to play in China, they had to take out America putting the flag. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. But it's like, what had happened, though?
Yeah. Did you hear recently about the John Cena thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's like, oh, shit. Like,
yeah.
They cut to John Cena.
I was relieved when I found out that he actually does speak Mandarin and he doesn't just like learn Mandarin for that. But still.
But what happened with John Cena more specifically?
So he was in some interview promoting Fast and Furious 9. Right. He referred to Taiwan as a country.
Right, of course.
Which of course it is, but China doesn't like to recognize it as a country. So he had to go on Twitter.
We just lost our China distribution. Shit.
Damn it. I mean, Taiwan is not a country. I was on behalf of Citizen Kane versus
Bell Media.
Bell Media.
I mean, Bell Media would force people to make that statement.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, so you had to publicly
money.
apologize to China in Mandarin.
So rough.
Like the NBA. Didn't the NBA have
He apologized
to?
in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NBA had to do a whole thing too, right? If they wanted to be brock. It's anyway. I agree.
So with China encroaching like that, you have big movies that are being made on the scale, and they're not free. They're not free to do what a auteur like Spielberg would want to do.
No,
right,
they're not.
but like auteurs are not going to get China. Like it's only the big studio things that are backed by Chinese investment firms, and those
Only the big
movies
studio
already
make movies like Saving Private Ryan. Or
I guess now, yeah, but like.
That's where my
it's still American. It's still American propaganda. It's like whether Hollywood's making it without foreign investment or it's still just propaganda from somewhere.
Sure. But like, okay, so just to finish my little segment here, like, it's like the whole propaganda thing. Of course, it's propaganda. It's propaganda. Yeah. Of course, it is.
There's an American flag at the end.
And so I'm gonna look at, and this is why like it actually is lower than 1941 to me, like as a war movie. Which is because I know you guys all hate it. I'm going to make a fool of myself defending it, whatever. But to me, the fact that it exists as propaganda and I can see it as like warmongering is like makes me okay. I'm just going to look at it as like a genre movie and a war movie, and on that level, it's great. It looks great. It's better than a lot of other things. A bunch of guys on the mission and behind them, yeah, shoot the Germans, dehumanize them, kill. I'm rooting them on, but it's a fucking movie. Big deal. Who cares? 1941 to me it's absurd. It's a complete ridiculous comedy, which to me is the only sane response to war. And to me, it does what Dr. Strangelove does, which is like Kubrick was like writing Strangelove and was like trying to make this really serious Cold War movie. And he realized this is a comedy. I can't, the only way I can make this movie is if I actually treat it as absurd as it is, which is to me what 1941 does. And to me is like the only sane response, as opposed to like Saving Private Ryan, where it's like actually tries to elevate its message as like, God damn it, war is hard, but God damn it, these are heroes that we gotta respect. And I'm like,
isn't it worthwhile?
These are just sad people faced with an absurd situation.
Yeah.
And I was laughing. Like, to me, all the violence read is like Monty Python fucking blood spurting, because that's how I had to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like moved by Saving Private Ryan. I'm like, oh God, I'm so horrified. I'm like looking at the guy with his intestines and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's some good prosthetics. Holy or like the guy was like trying to do the sticky bomb and he just like explodes.
That was fun.
And I was like,
that was funny.
But
horrible, but funny.
That's not quite visuals, but like anyway. Whatever.
So to bring it over to 1941.
Yes,
I want to say that. If I was just presented Saving Private Ryan and 1941, and I had seen no other movies before and would never see another movie again, I would say Saving Private Ryan looks better. However, every war movie since has essentially done exactly what Saving Private Ryan did. Yeah. So I'm oversaturated. I was watching those effects, and yes, they are effective, but I've seen it a billion gajillion times. What I haven't seen a lot of recently is brilliant miniature work, and 1941 it has brilliant miniature work.
Yeah. Anytime they do, I was impressed. I was like, how did they shut the street down like this? Yeah. I was like, oh, it's miniatures. Holy fuck!
The Ferris wheel thing
looks so much better.
The Ferris wheel was amazing when it gets blown off.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of really neat stuff in the movie, and as Andrew mentioned, the whole dance sequence is quite fantastic. And you're right, like the choreography meaning the whole, not just like choreography of the dance stuff, or the fact that you had actors, as you also said, Andrew, doing stuff. You had the actors having to have that skill set as well to do kind of dance sequences, which is always appreciated.
Sequences and dance and running up the wall.
Dance, but just the movement of like a lot of people in that space, and it's like it's pretty fun. I agree.
Not to mention all the camera guys and technicians.
Yeah, but that was my favorite part of the movie, and not what happened after. There's like a second part of that fight that lost me again, but the first part where it's like it's during the Lindy Hop competition runaround, was pretty funny. And I was like, oh, this is like, is it all landing? No. Is it being well executed? Yeah. And
I love that they make the guy an amazing dancer.
Yeah.
Like, this punk kid, but in that scene, he's fucking Fred Astaire.
Yeah. He's been practicing.
Yeah. Since the first scene.
Stepper.
When his dancing was not good.
Yeah.
And then when the rapist guy tries dancing with her, and he's literally like going like,
oh, that was the first time. That was the first of 2 times that I laughed in this movie.
I agree, Dan.
When he ragdolls her.
Yeah.
The first time I laughed was attention, and they all kind of come to attention, and then at ease, and they all just kind of and they schlub over themselves in the line. That was my first laugh.
It was in the last moment too, where like the weird guy who owns the restaurant is like, God damn it! Get all those cockroaches back in the flour sacks.
I couldn't understand a single word he said. So
no,
okay.
I couldn't hear
the Italian
anything.
guy coming out of the house. He's like, okay. He's like, okay. I'll turn it back into a car after the war. Right now, it's a tank.
Yeah. So the movie is certainly varied and full of like lots of whimsy. There's some funny things that I'll shout out maybe in likes and gripes, but like, yeah, this movie reads visually though like it's a mad world, right? Where it's like super disjointed, right? Like it's just
and
like a bunch
everything on screen all at once always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the editing is bad too. Like there was some scenes, like there was one moment in particular where like I think it's the rapist, the other guy who the rapist doesn't like, and the girl, and they're in the street, and the rapist like kicks the other guy in the balls. Yeah. And then they just cut to a different scene. Like that scene's not over.
There were a few scenes that had hard cuts to other things that were supposed to be happening, which is not that's movie making, but they're not well cut. And when we come back to it, all of a sudden, it's like halfway through a sentence, and you're like, "Oh, okay, all right."
To me, it was like a farce. That's how I took that movie. It's a fucking like a World War II farce, where it's like bam, 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 bam. And it's
totally.
Like, it's clunky, it's that maybe badly like disjointed and insane and chaotic. But it's like, and that's how I look at like the characters. I mean, they're farce characters. They're not real. They're not like it's a totally absurd. And then, but my favorite thing is when I see a good farce is when I get overwhelmed. When I'm just like, holy, like one thing is happening and then something even crazier happens and then something even crazier than that.
Okay, but I was overwhelmed, but it was overwhelmed because I had no point of reference. I had no place to watch myself.
That's my happy place.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, all right.
No, I'm with you, Sean.
We're like, this movie made no sense. And Andrew's like, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, my precious.
Okay, I understand.
It made its own sense. That's what I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is a compelling thing to say.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
It is.
It is absurd.
Yeah, there's no denying it.
It's like totally bombastic and like I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time, wondering what the fuck was gonna happen next. And like it's a rare never see that.
And suddenly there's blackface and whiteface happening at the same time. And you're like, I did not see this coming.
Come on, isn't that amazing? That's a moment of racial equality.
Well, the setup to that earlier though, when John Candy, there's like this weird bit where they're drawing lines and he puts white paint on his face and like push him to the door stuff. I was like, what? I don't even know what happened, and it just reads as really fucked.
I'll give you that scene. That was a little weird. He was painting a surrender flag. They didn't like that guy for one reason or another. Was it because he was black? Was it because he was being crazy?
It just does. I couldn't understand what the fuck was happening, and it just read as really fucking weird and kind of fucked.
Yeah. That was most scenes for me in this movie. I rarely had any fucking clue what was happening from scene to scene.
What was the thing I was gonna say?
You get the gist of it. Like, were you actually genuine?
Not really.
This was a movie of I got the.
Yes,
I got the gist.
At a certain point, though, I completely lost track of what was going on. Like the last 20 minutes or so, there are some things that my brain just like blocked out because it was just too much random shit going on. There was no hope of like jumping back into any semblance of story to follow.
Once Belushi joined the like quote unquote main plot, if it's the main plot, even though we've established, I think right now that the main plot is actually about the Japanese crew. Again, I'm just gonna reaffirm that. But once he joins Belushi joins, I think it totally is lost, right? Then you just get a bunch of like shit happens.
Ned Beatty's family is one.
Ned Beatty's family.
The dance kids, the plane fetishists.
Yeah. They drive through the really expensive shot of the paint factory.
That was cool.
Favorite.
That was pretty cool.
It's amazing to look at.
That really touched
but
me.
For what purpose, though?
They're not even covered in paint at the end of the movie.
No.
It was pointless. The tank is clean when it comes out.
No purpose, absurdist maximalism. Which
maximalism,
to me
right?
Is like aesthetically just beautiful.
Is that the class you teach down at the learning annex every Friday night?
I mean, I have to teach my critical race theory course now, but that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, before they get rid of those, yeah.
Yeah. There are definitely little things that I enjoyed. Just they were, as you say, actually overwhelmed by other things. Like I liked the visual gag of Belushi spitting out everything that he drank. I thought that was
the coffee shit was so funny.
And spitting it at people just because he was just a hardcore guy. Yeah. But it was still kind of lost in like everything else of that stupid plot line in the base and this weird rogue mad commander and whatever. I was like, I don't give a shit about any of this. And I barely like John Belushi's character. But I thought I was like, if I could just watch
the bottle on his plane and chugs it, I'm like, is there anything more American than that?
Yeah.
And that's actually what I appreciated about this movie more than Saving Private Ryan is you can say this or that about the racism, how they show Japanese people, blah, blah, blah. If they show Americans complete fucking dolts.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
It's, like, it's the whole glaze of just like everyone in a war is an absurd like idiot fumbling around trying to make a decision. Which ultimately to me was the more powerful statement than like, war sure is hard, but gosh darn it, we got to do it.
Yeah. I'll say that I think 1941 would have been better if it had no sound.
Yes. Yeah.
If it was a purely visual movie, it might be like all right.
Yeah.
I love how there's all this everybody's basically screaming through the whole movie, and then the credit sequence is every single character screaming.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Boy, didn't need to see you do that anymore. Woo. Yeah,
I don't know.
They really drove it home.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with this conversation, though, is like I can't argue and prove to you that 1941 is funny. I think at the end of the day, you guys just didn't think it was funny. Yeah. I think there's a version of that movie where like the jokes land, and you guys like it.
Yes, there were a couple. There were a couple moments. There were a couple jokes
but like
that
the structural whole makeup of the movie like isn't
a
necessarily
mess.
Problematic. It's like
it's a mess. It is a mess.
But that's true. It's a good point because there are messy movies. I mean, look at a movie like Airplane, for example.
Yeah,
very
less
very
of a mess
loose.
than this film.
Like, are we supposed to care about the characters in Airplane?
But also from like beat to beat, a lot of it is nonsense. But it's just clever. It's just clever gags and really good physical and visual comedy, which I think is what is lacking in this. It's the same kind of idea, but the humor just isn't as clever or funny.
Yeah.
He wanted to make Airplane, but instead he was given $30 million in 1978 money.
Yeah.
And and to me, that's just like, that's amazing. It's a miracle. I want some guy. I mean, I don't know who that guy is or that person is. I just lament that that's never going to happen again. It was a miracle then, and it's an impossibility now, I think.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
That's where we disagree.
No, I agree with Andrew on that point. I do hope for more times where someone is given too much money to do something outrageously stupid in film. And just see how it works. I do hope that.
Yeah.
You see, we found some common ground.
That happens all the time with all the movies we have out now.
Oh God. No.
It does kind of seem like it.
Those are made in laboratories. Come on.
Yeah. I just learned recently that Marvel Disney will CG fight scenes for movies they know they have coming up at some point before they're cast. So a lot of the action sequences in your big like blockbuster Marvel movies are like their forethoughts before the crew actually comes together, before the design team comes together. They just have their like lab of computer graphic people creating fight scenes for things.
I think that's brilliant.
That's horrifying. There is no artistic integrity in that.
There is still an artistry that goes into creating those fight scenes.
But it doesn't help the film at all. It's just a fight scene that happens to like have those characters created in them.
Well, that's
that explains
because
a lot.
They have the story arcs of
Black
these
Panther.
of the
Black
universe.
Panther. Yeah.
What's wrong with Black Panther?
That's
The fight at the end.
Oh, the CGI fight at the end. And that's really bad.
It's a mess, and it kills the movie.
Yeah.
I don't say it kills the movie. That's still a fucking really good movie. I wouldn't say it kills it.
It's the last 5 minutes of the film.
Can I take a little sidebar here and just ask you guys? I've always wanted to do this. What, like, you guys have come together and formed this movie podcast that has endured and is great. But like, when it comes to like each of your own person, is your first episode? I should listen to it, I guess. But is your first episode like kind of? I would love, maybe I should just do this on my own, is like an analysis of like where you guys stand and what you guys value as individuals in movies.
No.
Like what, like in terms of like what I could even say like, what are each of your favorite movies? And then I can kind of be like, oh, he's the guy who likes this kind of movie.
Princess
Jack's
Bride.
the guy that likes this kind of movie. Sean's the guy that likes this kind of movie. And then to me, that's like, oh, like I get more invested in like, guessing what you guys are going to think about this and that.
I think the thing is we don't have that because we've kind of, and I'll speak for us, maybe you can disagree, but I think we've partly learned that a bit more and more as we've done the podcast. So
what have you learned?
I'm the guy who generally votes for the classic. Daniel, if we're getting super specific, Daniel is the opposite of that, and Jack is the guy who sits on the fence.
No, I wouldn't say I always am the opposite of that.
But you root for the
I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of like flashy, campy. I like to call it smart, stupid comedy.
But I've also is your favorite movie.
No, I said smart, stupid comedy.
Oh, 1941 is very smart.
1941 is a train wreck. But I've also through this podcast come to really appreciate some of the grittier classics, like the Taxi Driver.
I've softened too since we started this.
But like Sean, you like structure, like that's something when a movie has.
I like when people have been like, I sat down and I created this thing for you. Look at all the work I did in it.
Yeah.
But don't look too hard. Because then I work too hard.
And I like the work. I like seeing the work of the artists, I think is maybe one way that I would describe my opinions on things. Like I like practical sets. I like knowing, like similar to what Sean expressed, like I like a movie that's been made to be a movie for this and that, as opposed to something that was bred in a lab for future investments. It just doesn't tickle me.
And maybe this will be an easy question. Of the movies that you guys have done on this show, what has been, maybe not your favorite movie that you've reviewed, but what is the movie that each of you has had to defend the most to the other three?
Like most of them.
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's also asking us to remember our podcast.
I mean, it doesn't have to be the definitive answer, but what sticks out in your mind?
I found myself having to really defend Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star, to these guys.
Shit.
I had to defend The Mummy more than I thought I would.
You did.
The Mummy's a dope movie.
And these two bozos think National Treasure is better than Indiana Jones.
Correct.
It is. Objectively, it is a better film.
Wait,
absolutely
which Indiana Jones?
The first one.
Okay, I haven't seen National Treasure, so I can't speak on that. But
National Treasure is objectively a better movie.
It's absolutely.
If you break it down in terms of our categories, that's how it falls.
I also found I will often find myself having
this weird
to defend
meta subcurrent.
Having to defend movies from like this time, like the 70s, like Saturday Night Fever, or Taxi Driver, Rocky.
Yeah.
For the same kind of reasons you listed earlier, Andrew, where I think that it is important to kind of to judge them based on the intended lens and the time period.
Yeah, but those I disagree that those are similar to what we're talking about here, because those were like definitive choices to make those characters have those actions while also being our protagonist.
But here's the thing. Just to speak on this real quick is like Jack, you were saying earlier, which is a point that it was interesting to me. Is like I'm not gonna look at the movie based on any kind of historical context. I'm gonna look at it as how it holds up to me now in this room based on my values and evaluate it from that point of view, which makes sense. Which makes sense to me. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna be like, well, Birth of a Nation is a sick movie because you look. That actually might be a bad example. There's some pretty good filmmaking.
Yeah, let's stay away from Birth of a Nation.
What's a pure historical and like
Gone with the Wind? You know,
we did Nosferatu on here.
Nosferatu,
old movie.
Or like you're gonna look back on a movie and be like, oh, it sucks, but it was the 50s. So you're like, oh, the movie doesn't suck now. It's like, no, you either like the movie or you don't.
But like Breakfast at Tiffany's is now, like, I would watch it whenever we do that. That's going to be a hard one to look at because Mickey Rooney in that is like unwatchable. He's an unwatchable person. Even though then he was like they went to see those scenes where he pretends to be a Japanese man, but like now we don't need to see that.
Yeah.
Well, but it goes to what you were saying, Jack, about like 1941 was saying all of a sudden within a second is like women are only to be sex objects and laughed at in that way.
Yeah, that's just because of all the roles in the movie. Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's fine. But like, to me, it's like that's not what the movie's saying.
But it is by only portraying that. But it's only portraying that, right?
No, but it is.
That's not an endorsement, first of all. And also, it's like in this movie, sure, the women are sex objects, but that's not necessarily the movie making a statement that's definitive of all women.
But it's the only statement the movie's making.
I thought the women were actually quite empowered in 1941. And to me, that was a woman who was in tune with her sexuality and could only get off when she was in a plane. And if she wasn't in a plane, she's not fucking that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a lens
for who he was. He's a lay. He's whatever. But I'm not going to get off unless I'm in a plane. So I'll fuck this guy, but only on my.
I think you're doing a lot of work for the film. Is all I'm going to say about that.
I'm not doing any work. This is how I just interpret it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's why we're gonna disagree is it has to do with who is in charge of the action of the movie, how people are portrayed, what their role in terms of individual scenes, larger plot points. If it was it's not about an empowered woman embracing her sexuality. If it was from her perspective and she was trying to find a pilot because she wanted to achieve the goal of getting on a plane, great, but it's not. The story is he is trying to get her on a plane because she has that infatuation. And so the perspective is not correct for what you're saying, in my opinion. If it was the other way around, then I could say, yes, it was.
Fine, but that's what that character is doing.
Yeah, but how you showed it, it's one of those things where, of course, it's subjective. We're talking about filmmaking and art, but like, in my opinion, from my subjective opinion, that's where those arguments fall apart to me.
Well, and it's also like I think the valid argument is the majority of movies and scenes from that time were from that perspective.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
which is routinely my issue.
Those movies shouldn't change or be wrong.
No, we're not going to go back and edit them, right?
What should happen is there should be more of other types of movies. And so if you were, if the 70s had like a plethora of like empowered women through the entire decade, you probably wouldn't judge everyone so harshly.
Interesting
maybe
perspective.
I don't know if that's true. I won't agree with that statement, but it would make things generally better. And look, and the thing is, look, I don't want to get too caught up on this, and
we got to go to sound before it's 2 hours long.
Yeah, exactly. We want to get moving. So fucking end of round. That's it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, end of round.
I think that is a win for me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah, sure. And
I think you did, Andrew.
Yeah. Okay. So
next round.
On to our
podcasts with your friends that no one listens to are about winning.
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry, I don't know that no one has this too. That was rude.
Right now, no one does.
We have a fan. Our third round, which is sounds. How'd they make you feel, buddy?
I don't remember much of the sound from Saving Private Ryan, except for the one thing that stood out to me, in that I couldn't hear any of the dialogue in the opening scene. And and that was a problem for me. The rest of it I know was like heavy-handed melodrama.
Yeah.
Which I'm never a fan of. But the only thing that like stood out to me that was memorable was the fact that I could not understand what the plan was on in the D-Day scene, because I couldn't hear anything except for bullets.
Oh, you mean in the opening scene of D-Day? Yeah. I think that's intentional. I don't think you're supposed to be fully hearing exactly, because that.
I don't know. Then why have it?
Because if you like with the subtitles on, it is a very coherent plan. I understand every beat.
Right, and this is my point: is that I don't normally, when you're not supposed to, when the dialogue is secondary, that is clear in the way that it's shot. But it's a scene, cameras on, Tom Hanks shouting orders, people are responding. I think that is information we're supposed to be following as an audience.
I think it is I'm gonna fence sit on this one. I think you're both right. I think
you're gonna face sit.
Fence sit.
Face sit on this one.
I'm gonna face sit on this one. I'm gonna fence sit on this one.
That's hot. That's hot. Sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna go pee, but I'm gonna mute myself. But I have my AirPods in, so I'm gonna be able to hear everything you guys are saying.
So we're gonna whisper sweet nothings to you.
Draining my bladder.
Don't mute yourself.
I'm not just bailing.
No, don't mute. I want to hear you pee. I want to hear the stream.
Actually, that's good. That's good. That's a good point.
That's not good. No, you mute. No, you mute. Mute that.
No, don't mute it. Don't mute it. Just go, Andrew. Just go.
I'll mute it. And I don't know what I was saying anymore.
You were saying you were gonna sit on it. You're gonna sit on the face of the argument.
Yeah, Sean, you're gonna sit on my face.
Leslie Nielsen in Naked Gun, when he like goes peeing, but he like leaves his microphone in.
Yeah.
And they in the Queen's. Sorry, keep going, guys. I love you.
That's next episode you're on.
Okay, so Sean, you were about to sit on my face and tell me about Saving Private Ryan. Sit on your face
and tell you that. I was gonna fence it because you two had opposing values, but I found some way that they were similar, and I was gonna talk about that, but I.
Because anyway, I'll talk for a second if it comes back to you, which is that I think you get it. Totally. Can I hear every single word? I was picking up little bits of information, which to me puts me in the shoes of what those soldiers are going through.
Private Rennie, who just got off the boat and lost his gun. It sunk to the bottom, and now he's scrambling to find. Oh, look, that guy died horribly. I'll grab his gun.
Yeah, and you're hearing a commanding officer going, beach,
exit point,
ammo, forward. You're just hearing, you know what I mean? If it was too clear, I think it wouldn't have been bad, but I didn't mind the choice because it was to me, it was about the visuals. It was about the completely overwhelming din of war, right?
Yeah. I guess to counter
I hear your
that
point, though, Dan. I hear your point, but compared to 1941, where I couldn't hear a bunch of lines, I didn't understand
hear civilians.
Yeah, Andrew was talking about the restaurant scene, and I was like, I didn't hear anything, a single fucking line from that scene, and it's not a war scene. It's not D-Day.
Yeah. For the opening credits, I was at 15 volume. This is going to be an old man rant. It was 15 volume, and then by the time it got to that scene, I couldn't hear anything, so I had to jack it up to 35. And then there was a explosion thing, and I had to right back down to 10.
Sean, I was the same.
Wasn't there a disclaimer at the front of the ones that you watched that said that there was going to be differing volume?
Fucked shit up. Yeah,
they had fucked it up.
So. Thanks for
remastering it. Where did you get the disclaimer?
At the start
of 1941, there was a thing being you might notice some visual and audio stuff.
Fuckery.
Well, there's some of that in Saving Private Ryan too. There's a moment with. After Upham shoots the guy at the end, again on Netflix at least, that version, it cuts back to him, and it's like all white and like blown out. Anyway, it's not. We've moved on. Anyway, sound. So the heroic war music is a drag. I just can't with the soft trumpets coming in from the distance.
It's also what killed 1917.
Yeah.
So
1917, yeah. It stars a guy who looks like you. Yeah, of course it's hot. Oh, yeah. I think my buddy Andrew's in this. But yeah, I don't know. Is there other music? It's just war music. Like, that's it, right?
It's just war music. It's not John Williams like in 1941. So already like a John Williams score is going to lift you above just like...
Wait, did John Williams do 1941?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
It is Spielberg's favorite score of the ones that Williams has scored for him.
Okay.
Which, like, I agree. Like, I don't know if it's the best one of all the like Spielberg Williams co-creations, but it's...
Sorry, can I ask you a quick question about the... like? So is it... do we each do a turn on sound, or do we just talk about sound? And
just talking about sound. Just fucking talk.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought we had like turns to talk about sound or something.
No.
Just dive in.
My bad.
Yell things.
Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
But I have to, if I look back at it and I'm being honest with myself, and this is funny, this is a funny opinion because I said earlier that I think I would have liked 1941 if it had no sound. But also, since it did have sound, if I watch it with no sound, I would be like, this is just a bunch of silly things, and I wouldn't know what's going on.
With the score.
I think the score did help me understand this is supposed to be this is supposed to be that. It didn't match what I was watching, but it probably was helping me.
Okay, so yeah, sure, it's helping you along, so you can like make sense of sort of the plot. But what I love about the score in 1941 is how majestic it is. Like, it's I'm not gonna say it's the same score as Saving Private Ryan, but it's like that glorification of dun, 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 dun,
it's Indiana Jones, but not quite.
Yeah, and it's like it evokes that emotion in you where you're like, oh, I'm excited by what's happening, but what's happening is completely absurd and ridiculous. Yeah. And to me, that contrast is hilarious and great.
It's a great march. It mimics the war movies that this film is trying to parody.
Whereas like Saving Private Ryan is like, it's like, oh, now you're supposed to feel like patriotic. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
But Saving Private Ryan, the sound editing is incredible. Yeah. The way the soundscape is made, it's just like.
Yes. And I love the moment of watching the rain fall on the water, and it first being a metaphor for the sound of gunfire, and then becoming that there actually is gunfire. It's a beautiful little visual sonic moment. Yeah. Stuff like that is really, really great.
Sonio Visio. Yeah.
Yeah. Sonio Visio moment. Yeah.
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 I want to take this opportunity in story part 2 to ask some questions I didn't get a chance to ask earlier.
Speak up, buddy. Speak up.
Yeah.
Sean, I'm going to
come on. Let's let the man speak. Come on.
Let me fucking speak, Sean. Why were the Japanese people...
Don't leave the meeting. No. Oh, you turned off it. I was like, no, that breaks it. That ruins the recording. Oh, God. Okay.
Why were the Japanese people trying to get that old farmer to take a shit?
Because he swallowed, I don't know, there was a compass. Suddenly there was a compass that he swallowed. I didn't know what the compass was. Apparently it pointed to Hollywood, and he swallowed it, so they're trying to make him poop it out.
The compass pointed to Hollywood?
I think that's why.
They didn't have one. Okay.
They had no navigation. Yeah, their compass had broke. Yeah, they showed that a lot. They had no compass, so there was a gift compass in the box of Cracker Jacks or whatever, and then the American dude who was that Slim Pickens again?
It was, yeah, from Blazing Saddles and from Dr. Strangelove, which we haven't done yet, but we will.
Of Slim Pickens.
Yeah.
Who is Slim Pickens
again? He's
just an actor.
He's the sidekick to Hedy Lamarr in Blazing Saddles. The one who someone go back and get a shit ton of dimes.
Slim Pickens is fabulous, don't you think?
Yeah, he's lovely. Well, in the acting category.
Also, another crossover between 1941 and Strangelove. What do you guys think of the Strangelove 1941 comparison? As
never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
Kubrick told Spielberg that he thought 1941 was really good, but it shouldn't have been a comedy.
When did he say that?
Like in the early 80s.
like when it came out, I guess.
Yeah.
Kubrick was like, "It's not funny, Steven.
It wasn't a funny movie, but I loved it.
It was not
Sorry
funny,
to
right.
tell you, it's not funny, Steven."
And then he went back to yelling at Shelley Duvall.
I don't know how
making her cry.
Kubrick sounds. So my guess he's like, "Listen to me." He sounds.
No. He's like
He's kind of like
he's a total
he's kind of
Jew.
like the guy from The Room.
Yeah.
He's like, "It's not.
It's not.
I'm Stanley Kubrick."
No, that's completely wrong. He's a total Jew from Brooklyn. He's like, what are you talking about? Oh well, if I'm gonna play chess, I'm gonna play chess like this.
Well, in my mind.
So that's what he told
He sounds
Spielberg.
like me. Yeah.
He said it that way in his Brooklyn accent.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But-
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the sound editing though, and the craftsmanship of Saving Private Ryan is pretty outstanding, and I agree with that. And as much as some war music, as much as I will harp on it, and sometimes like when it's over top of just like a backlit American flag blowing in the wind, I go like, but at other times when it's really soft and it is with the right visuals, I go, yeah, like it is.
Steven Spielberg does some fucking cornball shit, doesn't he? Like he's so great. But then every once in a while, you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like the one moment in Saving Private Ryan where it's like, it's like Tom Hanks's face that then turns into a landscape. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like the cheesiest crossfade I've ever seen.
Is that just after he's been crying and then it cuts into like the weird storm?
I don't know for sure if it's that scene, but it's some like heightened moment. He like looks up into the distance, but then like the distance is all of a sudden behind him, but then he like fades away, and like I don't know. To me, it read as like totally corny. Yeah. And it reminded me of what happened at the end of that Lincoln movie, where like it's just like Lincoln's face glimmering in the background as the last image of the movie. And I'm like, you're so good at making movies. Why do you just dip into such cornball?
Yeah. Well, the same thing with Matt Damon's fucking face shift at the end there, where it like literally morphs into old Matt Damon.
Which is done. It's done pretty well.
It's done well.
It's just kind
but
of
it's so jarring and unnecessary. Yeah. It feels like it's out of a different fucking movie. But I mean, to that point, I think that the entire kind of bookend of old Matt Damon just like stumbling through the graveyard didn't need to be in the film at all. Like if we had just started on D-Day, the entire movie would have been better.
It's a weird little conceit that the movie wants you to think that old guy was Tom Hanks.
Which I did.
But it's kind of weird why they want you to like think that. Like the twist. I get it, but it's just a bit weird. I agree with you. The bookends.
You're right, Dan. They should have left all that out.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It seems a bit. They want to pull it into the modern era, right? And they want to.
They want it to be the movie you watch on Remembrance Day.
Yeah, and they want it to be like respectful to veterans, right? They want it to matter now to those that had served, right? As opposed to be like, this is just like a part of the past. They wanted to connect it to be like, and it still affects us now with these people. Let's honor that. So,
which is a funny point about the movie. Like, would you guys say that? I mean, Sean's not here. I'm sure he's got lots to say on this, but like, Saving Private Ryan is. Sean, sorry. I just said it's a shame Sean's not here because I'm sure he's got a lot to say about that. Okay, so Saving Private Ryan to me seems like a movie that's kind of like trying to make itself not glorify war, and yet totally glorifies war.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like it's like, ooh, we're gonna show how it really was, and you're supposed to show like how gruesome and awful it is.
Yeah,
and yet to me, all the gritty violence played as comedy. And the parts of the movie that I liked were the like just rooting for the guys on the mission, and it was kind of divorced from any real reality of like, oh yeah, like if I'm gonna watch this movie, I have to totally dehumanize the Germans, and they're just fodder to get shot in the head, and that's fun. That's fine if you do that.
I mean, Hollywood loves a Nazi. Like Nazis are the one like group of people that, in a modern context, you can shoot en masse, and like that's fine. And I don't disagree with it. Honestly, more dead Nazis is a good thing. But
right, sure, but that's fine. But if you're watching it like pure genre movie, where it's just a fucking war movie, and it's about the plot and it's about the story, and you're rooting for the good guys against the bad guys. It's just like your melodrama. That's fine. To me, the problem is that Saving Private Ryan tries to elevate itself above that somehow. where it's saying that like, oh no, these actually were the good guys and the bad guys. And it's like, okay, yeah, fine. You could say Nazis are evil. America is not evil. That's maybe true.
But also they would check people. Yeah.
On that level, we can all agree that these are all just humans being forced to murder each other by evil governments. Like that's what's happening. Yes. And yet we're watching the movie and saying like, oh no, these ones were evil who need to die, and our guys are good. And to me, that's where I run into real problems.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I would have loved to see the movie where you see the evil of the government behind the military. You know what I mean?
Because I'm never making that movie. Like
sure, I guess, but that was one of the fundamental issues I had with this film too. Because I'm all for glorifying the soldiers, because especially in this moment, their hands are tied, right? Like they are conscripted, they are forced to be there. Fucking Tom Hanks. No,
I said yeah, sure.
Oh, I thought you were like
Brothers was a lot more effective.
I never saw Band of Brothers.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, Band of Brothers is just better.
It's just
it's
the same people doing it, but longer.
It's like the same cast. Tom Hanks directs it, but it's like it's more about the guys on the ground. And I love the meandering plot that, like, you know, Easy Company, the main ginger guy, starts out as the hero, and then he kind of becomes background and like
but Band of Brothers and the Pacific later on are the final message is still, yes, this is barbaric, but it is the only way that we can, you know, purge the world of negative forces.
But they didn't hammer it so hard, I thought. You actually like the one thing that they did do in Band of Brothers is they cut back to the like aging veterans, actual guys telling the story. That to me communicated the weight of the reality more so than the fucking score or you know.
Because here's the thing, and like let's not get too caught up in just talking about Band of Brothers, but as you say, series is essentially, while parts of it are heightened for film, it is the history of things that happened. It's one of those things where it doesn't really matter your opinion of it.
Right.
They're just showing
you a depiction.
It's saying this is what happened. Whereas Saving Private Ryan wants to heighten
the American mythology.
Yes, correct.
And,
it wants to be American mythology.
It is myth. It is like I come back to it is purposely aggrandized to the status of myth. And that's while it's fun to watch, it's bad.
To bring it back to 1941, cut to that general singing along to Dumbo in the movie theater, which, come on, that's great. That's great. As satire, that's great.
Sure, absolutely. I thought that scene, I mean, it's a bad scene from Dumbo to have in a modern setting too. Like they chose the worst scene.
Yeah. We all know Dumbo's racist, blah, blah, blah. The point of the movie is
the general is
watching a fucking cartoon Disney movie. This is a movie about how dumb LA people are.
Yeah.
It's about they just want to go to dances and go to the movies, and then they're also the most hysterical, crazy people in the world.
See, I think what you're hitting on right there, Andrew, is that this is a film made by a newly accepted into Hollywood Steven Spielberg, and it is purely, the lens is purely to be like, look how silly Hollywood and LA is. But who gives a shit? Like, who cares?
I love that it's a fuck you. I love that it's punk. I love that it's like chaotic.
But it's only a fuck you to him and his friends. Only him and his friends get that humor. Only him and like people in the industry can watch this movie and be like, ha ha ha, I see what's going on. That's why it's like it's not remembered, is because its meaning can only be impactful to like people in Hollywood.
Yeah, but that's that's La La Land. That's every.
I know,
and those movies are annoying.
They're just about Hollywood, like, you know.
I agree,
and that's fine, and like a lot of them are really remembered and like whatever, but. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like it's just like, but for me, this is just about my like personal reaction. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Make fun of these fucking Hollywood schmoes who like are dumb, idiotic people who are going to scream Japs when they hear an air raid siren. I was like, yes, fuck you, people.
Okay, I don't know if it's that antagonistic though. I think it is done in a like, aren't we all silly kind of way.
I mean, whatever. Like either way.
End of round.
End of sound.
Yeah. So moving into our fourth official category, which is acting. How'd it make you feel?
I'm uncomfortable right now.
I'm kind of hard. I'm gonna start with saying I want more of that Vin Diesel in movies today.
Where he's a human being, where he's
Yeah.
like, no, we wouldn't kill them, and Tom Hanks has to be like, yes, we would, you bum.
I don't know. I like Triple X Vin Diesel.
I think even in Triple X, he's more nuanced. As he's gotten older, he's become more and more of just like a boulder that rolls onto set and goes,
American?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
absolutely.
He's some sort of subterranean.
He does have a porno name too. Fun fact: there was only mild digital altering to his voice for Groot, both regular and Baby Groot.
Wow.
Wow.
He only got like $4 or $5 million for that. So
Only?
yeah,
Sucker. Yeah, but I think the overall cast of, I mentioned them already, right? Of Giovanni Ribisi, Battlefield
so
Earth.
good.
I really like.
so good.
He's really
he's
good.
the best of the entire movie. I think Giovanni
Giovanni?
Ribisi. I think he's
medic?
a standout.
His death scene is harrowing.
It goes over the line of being absurd and then comes back around to being
which Giovanni Ribisi?
The medic.
The medic. When he dies and he starts saying "mama" and you're like, "Oh no!" And then it goes on just a little longer than you're expecting it, and you're like, "Oh
and
no!"
he's like,
trains the medics, he's like telling them what to do.
Yeah.
He's like, is one hole bleeding more than the others?
Yeah,
and you're
my
like,
liver.
yeah. And then he's like, I could use some more morphine. And you're like,
kill me.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to leave.
There was a lot of deaths. Pretty much everybody dies in Saving Private Ryan, which I kind of appreciated.
Except the coward and Ryan. Yeah.
The Luke Perry guy too.
Out. But to me, it's a funny thing with deaths in movies where it's like, especially war movies, like it's hard for like someone like being alive and then their eyes turn dead for that not to be funny.
Yeah, Tom Hanks' death.
It's like
his death.
It's a little funny because you're just at that moment. I'm like,
it is a little funny.
You're not gonna method act this. It's hard. It's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, it's a purely mechanical function. How do you release all the nerves in your body without making it look so stupid?
Yeah. I really like though the whole performance and as a character, I really like Battlefield Earth guy's sniper.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was my favorite part of the whole movie.
He's wicked, and the Sarge. The Sarge is awesome. His little thing of how he's gathering dirt, and you see that he's been to Africa and Italy. Italy and then vaguely Africa though is weird. It should say where he went.
North Africa. Well, North Africa was just the theater, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But still. So
he wasn't as woke as we'd like to wish he was, but go ahead.
But I'm just saying, if you think he really cares where he's been, he might be like, this is from
he's an uneducated adult.
But I like his character. Like his whole death lead up sequence is great, where he gets shot the first time and he's like, shit.
Oh yeah.
Throws his gun and then he gets shot again and he's like, ow, and then he just kind of stumbles.
He's like, I just got the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah, that line and delivery I think is wicked. Like, Sarge, you okay? He's like, yeah, I just got the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah.
It's like, you're about to die, dude. So I don't need the shot of Tom Hanks looking around with the explosion ringing and Matt Damon rocking, holding his knees, crying. Suddenly is really weird.
Yeah, they don't show him getting into that position. So suddenly going to him when the last 2 shots ago he's running.
He's been fine.
Yeah, and then afterwards he's still in that position, but he gets up and walks over to Tom Hanks, and you're like, so this was there was a moment that was cut out of the film where you went into the fetal position.
Yeah.
You know what's a funny thing is when it comes to acting specifically is the whole thing of and it's maybe it's a thing of COVID, like the idea of monologues feels so archaic to me.
Sure.
Right.
Where it's the idea of a monologue, especially in this day and age, it used to be this thing that we would learn monologues, and a monologue is this thing that actors, we should know tons of Whereas, you watch most movies and most great performances aren't made up of monologues for the most part.
No.
I feel like Matt Damon has kind of made his bones on a lot of monologues.
The brothers monologue, are you talking about?
He tells that story.
Yeah.
There was a great little moment where he's sitting, and then he does a little laugh as the thought strikes him, and it was so genuine. I was like, you would win the monologue slam right there.
Yeah, for sure.
But it did feel like monologue at the same time. I was
this movie has a lot of that.
And it also kind of
it was overwritten.
it like does away with like, yeah, monologues are stupid, but like this is the best monologue, and yet it's still kind of contrived.
Yeah.
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 Also, what a funny story he tells, fellas. If you want to,
I like that Tom Hanks
he tells feels like something that happened in 1941.
Yeah. Well, I also like
Yeah.
that like Captain Miller isn't like giving it like he's not really intrigued or interested in the story at all until the very like last moment.
And he's like, "Do you want to tell me your story?" And he's like, "Nah. That one's mine."
Yeah.
So, generally, if I were to speak generally, though, about the performances in Saving Private Ryan, I think they're very good.
Yep.
I think there's also like a lot of people who, as we said, pop in. You get Paul Giamatti for a few minutes, and he's great.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan fucking Cranston.
Baby Cranston. Yeah.
Baby Cranston.
One-armed
Cranston with
baby
hair.
Cranston.
Looking young and studly.
Yeah. You know, look, there's just a lot of like little people who do a fine job in it. Yeah, it's just well done. And then this was part of my issue with 1941, which is that look, like I would love like this is a movie that I watch and I would love to agree with you, Andrew. This is a movie that I see all kinds of stuff that I'm like, I see the premise and I go, this could be so good. This could be an Airplane-esque, Hot Shots-esque, super fun movie. But unfortunately, the acting does not help it at all. This movie is full of people who aren't funny, including people like John Candy does not get a good performance.
They didn't give him like he didn't.
They didn't give him
anything.
anything to do. They just gave him two racist scenes.
I'm gonna put my neck out here, and I'm saying, I am saying that Dan Aykroyd was trying in this film, and you rarely see that from Dan Aykroyd post Ghostbusters. He has not tried in a film.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's trying in this film, and I was okay with him. I liked Belushi. Again, he was the funniest man in the world that year, probably. Like,
I just love that he's Bluto, but yeah, as a World War II pilot.
Yeah. That's you want John Belushi in a movie, you're gonna make him do that shit.
I would agree with you, Sean, though. Aykroyd is trying.
He's trying.
He gets closer than a lot of people.
So
until he's written out of the ending.
Yeah.
What was happening with him in the tank where he's like losing his mind and covering his eyes with oranges? Oh, he hit his head. Okay. Clearly there's part of this entire like sections of this movie that I just missed.
Yeah.
Aykroyd was fine. I was sad about John Candy. I haven't seen a movie with him in it for a while, so I was excited to see him and then disappointed. I thought the dancing kid, whatever the fuck his name was. I didn't get any of the character names at all, but the dancing kid was great.
No.
Wally.
Wally and Betty.
Betty was the girl?
Betty was the girl.
Yeah.
They
She
just
had nothing
wanted to
do,
dance.
but he was cool. Rapey dude.
He did his job.
Rapey dude did his job.
Like him.
Williams or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Okay, but he also had this weird mask conceit that he kept doing.
Yeah.
That was
I kind of like that actually.
Wait,
I kind of like that.
Like angry, and then he goes,
Yeah.
Like
"That
when
was
it
so
composes-
funny! Come on!"
Yeah, I think that
didn't
was an
mind
interesting
it.
choice.
I didn't mind it.
Oh, I don't know. It got
No. But he's just like fucking throwing shit around because he's having a temper tantrum, and then the girl comes in and he goes,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
It's trying something. It's fine.
Okay.
But I think the standout in the movie for me was I didn't understand this storyline at all, but the old guy who had instructed the two people to wait in the Ferris wheel, the guy who was like orchestrating that whole thing,
They steal the movie.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck the Ferris wheel like plot line was about.
They're looking at
kids. Ventriloquist dummy popped out. I fell off the couch. I swear to God.
Yeah, there was some funny
That's
bits of
when
that.
I laughed. Like,
But, like,
I had
near-
a chuckle. So I
but,
like
like-
the scale between us.
But near the end of the movie, that old guy has some a couple of really like subtle, dry moments that are just hilarious. Like when the dude is in the tank trying to line up his shot with the fucking submarine. And he has the target lined up with the sub, but the fucking tank, the gun is lined up at the window.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
And the wife standing there.
yeah. And he just looks at both and he's like, I don't think you're going to hit it, man. Like, I thought it was fucking hilarious.
And he goes up to the window and he's like, he points at her, points at the gun, points where the gun's going to go, and then is like, move back.
Yeah. But see, that was
I love the dynamic between the wife and the husband, where like she's like trying to get him to do renovations.
Yeah.
And then they end up like destroying the entire house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we could just knock down a wall.
Yeah.
I saw what they were going for. Yeah,
Now,
I'm
I'm going to have a bit of a controversial opinion here, but I'm going to circle back to Saving Private Ryan and say that I don't know that I felt like Tom Hanks was the right person for that role.
Who would you rather see? Yeah.
I don't know.
In 1998.
I don't know who I would have.
Even now, who do you imagine?
Anyone you want.
Brian Cranston. I'll put him in anything. I'll put Brian Cranston in anything.
I think Cranston could do that movie really well.
I think he could. And there's a different, like, I can't not look at Tom Hanks and just see like nice, innocent guy, no matter what he's doing. And I think that the gravitas that everyone talked about the Captain having in this film didn't land with me.
Have you seen Road to Perdition?
I don't think so.
All right, that's a good like Tom Hanks role where you kind of like, oh, he like the character he plays isn't like a bad guy per se, but like he's morally questionable. So they're like it's a nice break of that, shatter that actor.
Yeah,
role.
I mean, I'm not saying that he can't do it. I think Tom Hanks is a phenomenal actor. I'm just saying in this particular role, there was a bit of a disconnect between the way that the other people talked about him and the way that he actually came across. And I think that someone like Bryan Cranston, for example, could kind of handle that duality a little bit more. Still have like the innocence and like the warmth of an English teacher, but also have the power needed to like command a troop of soldiers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But you trusted him though. Like I trusted him. It doesn't matter if he's a commander, right? He needs to be someone that a soldier can look at and be like, I will follow that man when my life is on the line.
I guess that's it. I guess I didn't know that I would trust him. He didn't instill the confidence in me.
I think I kind of know what you're getting at, Dan. I funny enough, I love Tom Hanks in this movie. When I watched the movie, I loved him. But in retrospect, I'm kind of like, would I buy the warm father figure. What I don't buy is his grit quite.
Yeah.
I don't think he was quite as like he never went real dark. He never went.
Even the scene when he is pissed off, so he charges that mound, right?
Ever.
Yeah.
He was always kind of just doing what needed to be done, but he was never like forced into a position where he had to make a real tough decision. Like he kind of did. Like he had to choose.
They didn't have to storm the bunker, right? They didn't have to storm that hill where Giovanni Ribisi's character ends up dying at. They could go around that, and they didn't have to. But he was already pissed that he'd lost men on this mission, and he was his character in that moment is like nothing matters. So at least we can like achieve something on this mission. We can like take this bunker. So let's do it. And I think that's the closest we get to a character break for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Can I ask you guys, what do you think of the movie Full Metal Jacket?
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's been too long for me to have an opinion, to be honest.
Never seen it.
Have you? Okay, what about Apocalypse Now?
I also dislike it.
Hated Apocalypse Now.
Interesting. Was there anything you liked about it?
I think it is a testament to like creative possibilities. I don't want to go that far up Coppola's ass.
Okay.
For me, it had the same issue as something like Scarface or Godfather, where I couldn't. They're great movies, and I think that objectively, Apocalypse Now probably is. But I saw it far later in life than I think most people did, so I walked into it having been told for years that it was like this fucking pinnacle of cinema. So going in with an expectation like that for a movie, there's no way the movie can live up to it.
It's like Fight Club. It's like when you haven't seen it.
I feel like tons of people hated Scarface though. Like throughout the whole.
Yeah,
I grew up in Brampton, where that movie
the movie was controversial.
There's like a religion behind that movie in Brampton. So.
Yeah, like from a rapper.
Cocaine dealer.
Yeah. Well, everyone's thugged out and high on something in Brampton. So
everyone has their fucking Tony Montana towel or whatever. But
No
I feel
kidding.
like Brampton proves my point when we've talked about movies and how, Dan, you talk about how like, no, like Saturday Night Fever isn't glorifying it. It's meant to show this. But I go, yeah, but we have a place like Brampton where everyone watches Scarface and goes, yeah, that's awesome. I want to be just like Tony Montana.
No, but I defend my position on that movie.
That's the thing.
I defend my position on that movie because places like Brampton exist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
like that's the thing is that you're
it's
shining a light on those communities that aren't normally put in films, and it's not glorifying the behavior. You're supposed to look at those characters for the dirtbags they are.
You're supposed to.
Well, as
you're supposed to. Whether or not you do is your own personal issue.
That's what's good about it.
Yeah,
it just shows it. If you're a piece of shit, you're going to interpret it one way. If you're a moral, upright citizen, you're going to take it one way. And to me, that's what makes a great piece of art.
That's
it's
exactly
not telling you how to feel. It's showing. It's just presenting this world, and you make sense of it how you make sense of it. And we can shit on people that take it the wrong way or whatever. But like the fact that different people interpret a movie a bunch of different ways, that's what makes it a good movie and an interesting movie.
Yeah. End of round. So, going.
We didn't do. Oh no, we did do acting for 1941, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked.
Yeah,
about
it was generally bad.
Yeah, so those are the ends
Bryan
of our
Cranston
four.
should have played the captain.
Robert Stack was good. I liked Robert Stack. I thought he was funny and
great.
A good time.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else?
Let's keep on moving. Likes and gripes.
So going into.
Can I just jump in? Sorry, I know I'm annoying the shit out of all you guys, but as Jack, as you put it, the thick girl. I thought she was phenomenal.
Which one was the thick girl?
I thought she was fun.
The friend.
One scene in particular where
Molly's
it's
friend.
them getting out of the car and going into the house, and she's just like dancing around the whole the girl and trying to like hype her up for the dance show. And that was the one moment where I was like watching this movie by myself. I was like, Rianne, you gotta watch this performance. This is you. and she tumbles out of the car and just like she's just like, as an actor, I just loved that performance because it was just balls out. The objective is convince your friend to go to the dance, and then she just goes and does what she does. I was like,
I think that is the. I don't know if it's credit that I'll give to this movie is Spielberg doesn't know how to direct a comedy. That's clear from this film. So he left a lot of the comedic stuff up to the actor to figure out. So when there are actors who know that shit, like Slim Pickens, like Robert Stack, like I think the woman, the actress you're talking about, they shine because they know what they're doing and they don't need anyone else to direct them.
She just went for it. That was the standout to me for sure.
Yeah, and the people who don't know how to act in a comedy, they didn't get any help, and then they stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
and they were also funny in their own way. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, great. End of round. Moving into.
Wait, just one more thing I want to say.
So just like with the story of Saving Private Ryan, though. So this is our bonus ground. Bonus ground. I'm calling it today, I guess. Likes and gripes. Likes and gripes. So essentially, there's 2 minutes on the timer, and we're just gonna list off some likes, some gripes, or a pass if you need to pass. That's also cool.
So we each get 2 minutes, or we get
no. It's just a 2 minute. We go around in order, and you'll get a turn. This is where we do have turns for 2 minutes.
So it's gonna go.
You get 2 minutes. Okay.
No.
And you just
you've done this before, Andrew.
Yeah. This is the part you have done before.
Yeah. You say and then you say what you liked, or gripe, and then you say what you griped.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to go Sean. We're going to go Sean, Dan, Jack, Andrew is the order. And when it gets to you, you just say either like or gripe, and then something about one of the movies.
Once more with the order.
And Sean, Dan, Jack, Andrew.
Okay.
And what is this round again? How does it work?
So it's a 2 minute lightning round. Okay. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Like, hold your fire, pass it on.
Gripe, the American flag.
Like, tree ninjas.
Oh,
gripe, war propaganda.
Woo! Like the visuals.
Gripe, praying over dead bodies in the middle of a battlefield.
Like, sailor dog.
when Tom Hanks cuts off the gunshot battle when they're disagreeing.
Gripe underusing your comedic actors.
Gripe, old Matt Damon.
Gripe, having to watch that dude not go up the stairs as that guy gets stabbed for like the 8th time in my life.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Never fun.
1941.
Like the nostalgia tears.
Gripe, men turning into fucking moronic animals when they see women.
Gripe, 3 young children digging a hole that's like 8 by 8 by 10.
Like men turning into moronic animals when they see women.
Gripe, Murica.
Gripe, racist John Candy.
Gripe, no main character and no plot, and things are just happening, and definitely nothing is happening.
An absurd response to the horrors of war.
Like the coffee pouring spitting gag.
Yes.
Like Ted fucking Danson.
Gripe, bringing a shotgun to your father-daughter talk.
The first one ever, by the way, of your life.
Yeah.
Gripe, Americans fighting Americans.
Final one, like the disappearing into the crowd gag.
I thought that was handled pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
You said like, right?
I think you said
when
gripe,
the crowd
sorry.
when the crowd keeps going
Yeah, the
by and it
crowd
keeps
keeps
changing.
moving. Yeah.
I like
cool.
that. I thought it was really well done.
Wait, which part are we talking about?
In 1941, when the
end.
bad man sees the pretty girl that across the crowd, and he's like, "You!" and then the crowd runs across, and she's like, "Oh!" and the crowd runs across again, and she's gone, and he's like, "Oh no!" and then the crowd runs across, and then the thick girl's there, and then he disappears into the crowd.
Yeah. It was actually well done. It was a
I
good.
thought 1941 was
good
pretty
bit.
woke, actually, for the time.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Great. Awesome.
Wait, can I ask you something, Jack?
Yeah.
Do you still think 1941 is the worst movie that you've ever seen?
I'm trying to think of a movie on this podcast that
No, not on the podcast. The worst. That's what you said. The worst movie you've ever seen.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to think of a one that I didn't enjoy more. Like there are movies that we've watched that are really bad, but they had an uptick on the badness where they
Bucky
went.
Larson, I watch anything before Bucky Larson again.
Yeah, Bucky Larson was so.
Bucky Larson
bad.
was objectively a better film.
I
than
would
1941.
definitely
No,
watch
it's
Bucky
not.
Larson before.
What
1941.
about Saturday
I know.
Night Fever? What about that? 'Cause
yeah.
you hated that.
I'd watch
I'd watch Saturday Night Fever again.
Well, it's okay. Do I want to watch like poorly handled racism, or do I want to watch poorly handled misogyny? Like,
I mean, they both got both. I'm just saying.
What about Avatar? Come on, Avatar sucks.
oh no, I'll watch Saturday Night Fever before I'll watch Avatar again.
I
Really?
saw Avatar twice
Yeah.
in theaters.
Yeah, I saw Avatar twice in
Okay,
theaters.
bad example.
Avatar is amazing.
Avatar's
What
gold.
about,
It's dumb and it's it's
Have you guys
beautiful.
seen Michael Douglas' The Game?
Oh, terrible movie.
Come on, that's worse than 1941.
I haven't seen
No,
it.
no, it's not.
Oh,
It's a terrible film.
You guys
It's going to
hate
be a
this movie.
classic.
Here's what I actually don't believe any of you that you hate this movie as much as you do. I don't believe you because we've spent this whole time talking about how like these great moments. Maybe it's just been you entertaining me and trying to be nice to me because you're good. But
Hey, you're our guest.
I
we never
gen-
disrespect you.
It's a mad world was worse than 1941.
Yeah, I'd watch 1941 before I watch
Yeah.
Mad World again.
That's close. That's really close. I don't know.
It was a bad movie. I had a hard time watching it, especially because it was so goddamn long. If 1941 was like
If it was
a
an
tight
hour
90,
40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no problem.
Then I think
there's
we'd
so
be
much
having a different
fucking
discussion.
there's so much
And they
random
cut
shit happening.
Yeah, they cut 2 whole plot lines, and they had just better writing and different actors, and a different.
Well, should we get into
director.
voting so that
no,
we
they
can
could do
make
better
decisions?
writing
decision?
on same actors.
are we?
They
trying to
had
wrap
good
this up?
actors.
Can I ask the group? Or
Oh, yeah,
more
ask
specifically, Jack, one more question.
Sure,
Right,
sure.
yeah.
Go for it.
So, this is something I was trying to get at before. We didn't quite get to it, but the whole thing of like only looking at movies through the lens of the present, but like, is there nothing to be said for? I don't know how to put this. It's like, it's not like, oh, the movie was made then, so then it must be good. But isn't there something interesting about watching movies from the past? And I don't even know how to put this.
Here,
but
I think I can answer.
Informing your sense of just like film history and
Of
like
course.
what they were doing at the time.
Yeah, of course. So here's the thing. So I don't say only, right? Like I am a picky bitch. So it's on my business cards. So when it comes to like societal stuff, like misogyny and stuff like that, it's just really hard to stomach. Like I just don't feel, it doesn't feel fun as a viewer to go, I'm gonna imagine I'm okay with this. Like it just doesn't, it's not a fun experience for me. When it's in terms of actual movie making, sure. There are lots of times that like we watched Nosferatu and we looked at visual effects that they used to like show magic. And I was like, that must have blown people's minds. And that's really cool. Or we watched The Grapes of Wrath and I was like genuinely taken with that movie and had a wonderful time. And it's not because I was like, this compared to CGI, whatever. It was just that like, or like given for the time. I was like, no, for now. It was just a story that
was well executed.
Yeah, and the visuals supported it, and I appreciated it. You know what I mean? So I do. It's just.
But also like there is
this
something
movie
that happens.
Isn't that I know what the conversation is that you want to have, and it's not this movie for me.
Right, fine.
Yeah.
It's not 1941, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there is a way that you look back on movies, and there are things that you can interpret things as this is misogyny.
Yeah.
Or this is just lighthearted bullshit. And you can do that with movies now. Like you can look at any movie and say like, oh, this is misogynistic one way or the other. But like, I think there's like, I guess some sort of line that gets drawn where it's like, this is
got to be right.
Misogynistic.
Yeah.
And what I'm confused at is how that happens.
I mean, it's time, but it's also like it is also the narrative focus because. Maybe a more modern film. Like there's still tons of rampant misogyny in mainstream Hollywood movies. Don't get me wrong, but
that depiction is not a. It's not saying that.
I guess I just don't care anymore. I don't care about man trying to have sex with woman. She likes planes. I honestly just don't care about that storyline anymore because I've seen. It's
different than saying it's misogyny. That's saying
it is misogyny, but like I've seen enough misogyny to be like that's boring now.
But like men trying to fuck women isn't misogyny.
No, but when she says I don't like you, I don't like what you stand for, I don't like who you are, get away from me, and then their romance starts budding, I don't know how to draw that line other than like there's already been clear like no. I don't want this, and the rest of the movie is that happening anyways.
And it's also like how it fits into the broad like product of the whole movie, right? So no, you're right. Just if a man wanting to have sex with a woman isn't in itself misogyny. That's not just what it is, right? That's not what we're shown. It's more than that, and also how that's what the movie is for everyone. Like that's what the fucking everyone in this movie, it feels like, that we're supposed to be following the most, not the main characters of the Japanese soldiers on the U-boat or the submarine, but everyone else. They are trying to have sex with women who are avoiding them and being all kinds of shit. And just, I'm just going to call a spade and say that is misogyny. And yeah, it's just, I'm kind of in Sean's boots where like, sure, there is some sort of weird academic discussion to be had about how in that time this would have been considered, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know, because I actually would be interested, because there would be women from that time who would be like, no, I saw that movie, it pissed me off, it was really shitty. I just think that conversation also comes from a lot of men talking about the past of how it was woke for its time, and not a lot of women talking about it as well. I rambled a bit, but
no, that's fair. And again, it's like you don't know how that was interpreted at the time, and then this is when it does become relevant as to like what the culture was at the time, when it becomes like how men in that culture went after women, and how women expected men to act, and how men expected women to act, and that's all determined by the culture of the time. So then you can, within that framework, interpret these jokes as just like, this is how it was, and you can make a joke that we could look at now as being like, that's awful mythology, misogyny. It's Saving Private Ryan being American mythology. No, misogyny, but it's like, but then it gets into this gray area. So then all I can do is just look at the movie, and is it making me giggle? Is it making me laugh? I'm choosing to interpret this as lighthearted bullshit and kind of actually exposing how dumb men are and how single-minded they can be when they're chasing. And to me, it's like those men who are like going after these women are like just as a butt of a joke as the women are. And it's like, goes back to restoration comedy. It's like, these are all just idiots in chaos, which to me says something more about like the human condition.
But this isn't satire. Like this movie,
I read it as total satire.
I know it wants to be satire, but Spielberg is not. He doesn't have a cynical or satirical bone in his body. He doesn't know what that's like. He cannot bring satire to life on screen. He is so honest.
But Spielberg didn't write this movie though, so we're not talking about his sense.
It's his view, right?
But I mean, I don't know. I think that it is intended satire, maybe not executed proper, like to the most of its potential. But they do set it up with stuff like that moment with the Japanese guy at the top of the movie, pointing out this is what Hollywood is, and then they have that whole scene with the women prior to the dance where they go through all of the ridiculous rules outlining how insane it is.
Totally, I agree. I think it is intended satire. I think it's intended satire. It does not fulfill its intentions.
But okay, so then when does that matter? If it's intended satire, then does it only count as satire if it's funny?
No, it counts as satire when the points you're trying to make come across effectively. But they're lost in this film.
Yeah, satire is a tricky like bridge to cross, right?
You're sending up a higher. It's supposed to be the sending up of the noble class, right? And in this case, we're looking at the military as its own kind of class system, and the effects that come out of its overreach of power, but also its ineptitude. And we see a lot of ineptitude, but it's not ever qualified as being a like dominant force in the world because it's the only world we're shown. I don't know.
Let's rate these things.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get this over with.
Let's
yeah, we're like a good 3 hours in at this point, aren't we?
Once and for all. So
more discussion than I think these movies have ever had.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, maybe not Saving Private Ryan, but yeah.
So which movie do you vote for our first category? Story.
Between the two? Story. Saving Private Ryan. A simple story done well beats a multitude of stories told inadequately.
Yeah. My vote is also Saving Private Ryan. There's no order to this. You can just if you want to shut it out, you can just let it be known.
I mean, I think. Can I assume we know Andrew's? Andrew, I'm assuming you're going for 1941.
Yeah, 1941. I'll just do a little soundbite.
We'll lift this.
A chaotic plot and a nonsensical sequence of events does more to communicate the chaos of not just war, but the masses, especially the Western elites' response to war than a fun mission movie.
Okay. Danny?
I'm Saving Private Ryan.
All right. So first category goes to Saving Private Ryan.
Then looks. I'm Saving Private Ryan. Because
yeah, me as well. I'm pretty one-sided on this whole.
I'm pretty fenced. I'm pretty fenced on this one.
Really?
Because I want to I want to lean into the I watch a lot of war movies. Now I know Saving Private Ryan is what they're all trying to achieve, which is why I've seen a lot of it, and it doesn't really affect me anymore. And I loved a lot of the visuals in 1941, so I'm going to say 1941.
That makes sense. Okay.
That's pretty weird, but all right. I'll just never respect you again, but
that's fine.
I respect you more for sticking to your guns. I appreciate it. Controversial opinion. Good for you, Sean.
And now I don't respect Dan anymore.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's a tricky chain.
Did you ever, Jack?
I'll just jump in quickly.
There was a day.
Visuals, 1941, and I'll just quickly say, movies, as Sean says, have tried to look like Saving Private Ryan, and movies don't even look anywhere near as good as 1941.
It's pretty good.
So
it looks pretty good. They knocked a house off a cliff.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it seems like a gigantic fucking waste of money to me.
Yeah,
Probably.
it looked like a big waste for nothing. For nothing
At
that
the
I
tail
thought
end
was...
of that movie?
Hey,
Yeah.
war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Say it again.
Say it again. Huh.
Absurdity.
So was that a tie for that
It's
one?
a tie
It's a tie,
for that
yeah.
round.
That's gross. Sound. I'm still Saving Private Ryan, actually.
I'm gonna go 1941 on this one. I had sound issues off the top. I don't like the melodrama. I know music is meant to manipulate, but when it's fucking heavy-handed, you can eat my dick. So I'm gonna go 1941.
Wait, are sound and music the same thing?
Yeah, just like
sound
the
is just your
auditory
score,
experience.
soundscape.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this was the one I was going to say 1941 because I had tons of sound issues. I thought like some things were loud and crazy and some things were super inaudible. Maybe that was just my torrent. But if we're lumping everything in, I thought the score for 1941 was better. How it was used was better. The Saving Private Ryan, just like fuck. That was actually one of the few parts of the movie that like really killed it was the score and the sound. But like actually like how the movie sounded, I thought 1941 generally had more problems. But on the whole, I guess if we're counting score, yeah, Saving Private Ryan killed it in a bad way.
So what is your vote for?
1941?
1941.
Gotcha.
I'm more on the fence for this one than I was for looks, I think. But I think just the annoyance of riding the volume like a rodeo clown rides a buck, that's not a thing. But I got to go Saving Private Ryan.
A buck.
Yeah,
A rodeo clown comes out on like a full-grown male
on a
deer.
full deer. Yep. Just rides around,
that would get people to the rodeo.
like at the Calgary Stampede. I've been a lot.
Yeah, not
I
it's
would
not
watch
bucking.
that.
It's just like chilling on a very calm stag.
Yeah. So that's a tie for that round as well.
Ooh.
Okay, great.
Ooh, closer competition than first.
Sorry, which one are we in right now?
We just did sound, and we're about to go into acting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan for acting.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, that's a gimme, I think.
I'll actually say the acting in Saving Private Ryan was better than 1941. I will do a quick. I mean, the actors in Saving Private Ryan had to go through a lot. What the actors did physically in 1941 was way better, and you don't see that shit anymore. So that scored a lot of points for me. But if you want to just think about like pure acting, embodying a character and living their truth, I gotta give it to like 1941. It's not about acting.
No.
Saving Private Ryan is about acting. Like,
Unfortunately.
those performances actually, the performances I thought actually sold it quite well. So Private Ryan.
Private Ryan. That's a clean sweep for acting for Saving Private Ryan. It's 2 for Saving Private Ryan and 2 ties. So I guess this last one doesn't matter, but it'll be close still. All right.
Maybe. So our bonus round, which is rewatchability. Which one of these movies do you see yourself watching again?
Saving Private Ryan.
1941.
What?
No, I'm kidding. Actually, I don't know if I'm kidding.
What?
I don't know if I'm kidding. And here's why. Here, I'll give you a soundbite of my own.
Watch it. I agree. Like, how about this? Watch it with me.
I was done talking.
Watch it with Andrew. Watch it with Andrew. We're raffling off a ticket for 2 to go to Andrew's home and watch 1941.
As he laughs and looks at us like, huh?
But here's the thing. So.
Doesn't that sound like a fun time?
It might, and hearing somebody who really enjoyed the movie talk about it makes me think that maybe there's more to be gleaned from it than I got the first time around. So just for my own morbid curiosity's sake, I think that I might watch 1941 again before I watch Saving Private Ryan, just to see if I can get more out of it. Saving Private Ryan was good, but it was a lot, and I don't know that I need to watch it again anytime soon. So I think I think that I'd maybe be willing to give 1941 a shot again.
Weird. Saving Private Ryan.
And Andrew?
I know I'm coming off as this like 1941 is amazing. To me, it as personally moved me. I'm gonna go back to it. Definitely not with anyone, because clearly it's not a movie that most people will like, and that's okay. Saving Private Ryan. I will watch Saving Private Ryan again. You know, there was a lot that I missed, and I think it's one of those movies that you watch again and you actually probably notice a lot of detail that you didn't see the first time around.
Yeah.
1941, same deal. You're gonna notice lots of detail you didn't notice the first time, but to me it's a tie. But fuck it, 1941, because fuck you all.
All right.
I was with you on that.
Yeah.
I was on your side, Andrew.
No, you have to switch
except for
back.
Dan. I actually wanted to say I appreciate that.
Nice.
Sorry.
Well,
Got you, buddy.
We'll watch 1941 together.
Two
Amazing.
outright wins for Saving Private Ryan, and 3 ties.
Crazy.
Oof. Which
That's
means
not right. That means that the Citizen Kane of the week is
Earn this.
Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan. A Saving Private Ryan. So there you have it.
Oof.
The thing of it was the thing.
5 hours of movie watching. No, more than.
Yeah.
More than 5 hours.
More than 5 hours. If you have somehow become,
If you're still here.
yeah, if you've become like a fan of this podcast in the distant future, that for somehow you watched all of both the movies and listened to all of this podcast, you have permission to stop now. Like,
Yeah.
thank you. But like you're coming on a bit strong.
Short. Demand attention.
All right.
Check out our
not
Twitter page and our Instagram.
Not good enough then. Well, anyway, thanks so much. Yeah, there are sites and stuff, but whatever. I think that's we're not
I just
going.
want to quickly say
You're-
thank you.
you're
for
a
having me
terrible
on the
hype
show.
man,
I know I
Jack.
was annoying and I'm interrupting you all and talking you.
You're
all
not annoying.
over.
No, thank you for making this this episode actually be a discussion and not just a slaughter of 1941.
Well, you know, I was happy to do it, and it was actually honest from my end. I hope you all felt that.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys are my friends, and but we're also all creative artist people, and I hope you don't shame me or think less of me, but instead think of me as a novelty that you enjoy bringing around.
Oh no, dude, we're gonna cancel the shit out of you.
Yeah, you're
I'm
canceled,
not
bitch.
kidding. That's all that's coming now. Yeah.
Montreal's more lenient about that though. So
Yeah, no. It was
answer.
great. It was. We want to have guests that come on and are present. That's the whole thing. So, thank you, and thank to everyone at home who listened. And that's.
I'll be the Robin Hood of 1941.
Oh yeah, and then so we have another guest next week.
we do.
Our good buddy, voice of Psycho Gorman, Stephen Vlahos, is going to join us. And so we have some very fun movies to do with Steven. Well, Dan, you kind of spearheaded this. Why don't you tell us what we're going to do?
Oh, yeah, sure. So we're going to be delving into the world of professional dancing next week. As we examine the contemporary classic, Magic Mike, and the equally classic, starring Jesse from Saved by the Bell, Showgirls.
Dude. I have a lot to say about Magic Mike, and I have a lot to say about Showgirl.
Don't we all?
Put them in the comments of our YouTube page.
Yeah. Tell us when you first watched Showgirls.
All right, I'm not gonna invite myself onto your Showgirls podcast because that would be. But what I will do is write a lengthy essay explaining why Showgirls is actually great. And I'll defend Showgirls, and I know you guys are gonna hate it, blah blah blah, whatever. But
I don't know.
Verhoeven's dope. I've seen it.
I'm actually gonna tune into this episode because that's actually really interesting. But what I would encourage you all to do is complete Magic Mike with Magic Mike XXL, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
And is actually the superior film. So what you should do is do both of those movies and Showgirls. That would be a real podcast. If you, I challenge
so much movie.
Both Magic Mikes.
Well, shit. I mean,
I probably definitely would not gonna do that. I'm gonna watch the
Magic Mike 1 is okay. It sucks. Magic Mike XXL is the real ride.
Whoa! Apparently, our classic. Like, okay, I am of the opinion. I don't think Magic Mike is deserving of a classic crown, but I will go along with this at gunpoint. I will march with my hands on my head into this episode.
I think it's classic insofar as it's what, like 10 years old now?
Is it? I guess.
I thought Showgirls was going to be the classic.
Well,
but it's got to be the schlock though, right?
Yeah, Showgirls is fucking garbage. Let me see. Hold on.
Magic Mike.
I think I don't know. It's not.
Magic Mike XXL is a perfect film.
Verhoeven is not garbage. Verhoeven is never garbage. Verhoeven
is a provocateur, and where are the provocateurs?
Okay, so Magic Mike is 9 years old, made in 2012, and everybody knows and most people love it.
Sure.
That's the thing. It's iconic. It's
already
iconic. Like a benchmark.
It will go down in history as
zeitgeist,
as
a classic,
an iconic film. So therefore, yeah.
I agree with those things, and that is why I am allowing myself to be force marched into this episode.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I want to pull Sean into a pairing about stripping movies, is with that exact feeling of like, I guess I'm going.
I guess I'm gonna watch naked people.
I'm going in. Can't wait to watch the classic Magic Mike.
Oh no.
Do you see any naked men in Magic Mike? No, right?
I don't know if you see like full dong.
Any dong? Do they hang dong?
Backstage.
No full dong, but it is male objectification, which is always fun.
Which is what I thought was important, because I was going to say maybe striptease versus Showgirls, but then I was like, that's too much.
That's also a bad
female stripping. But objectively classic. But I think it's too much female nudity for an all male podcast.
Burt Reynolds grabbing things.
You should do like Bob Fosse's Cabaret versus Showgirls. That would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's burlesque, whatever, but.
We got to do Cabaret versus Burlesque. I think that's the
that's the one with Christina Aguilera and fucking Cher, right?
Yeah.
I watched like half of that movie recently.
It's not
I'd watch it again. It's fine. It has enough in it that I enjoyed. And
Citizen Kane. Bye.